What's the most famous thing that ever came out of Denmark?
Well, I know, Hans Christian Andersen.
No, bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah. They were the first people to realise that you could turn a pig into a bacon sandwich.
Very, very early morning sports radio for postmen,
Forward.
trolley dollies,
Out of a dirt ship, Prestwick.
and anyone who had to do a dawn runner after a very ill-advised one-night stand.
Go, go, go.
Over my dead body.
The Two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Look at the light.
You've seen the time.
You worry too much about the time. That's your problem.
Yeah.
You're a clock watcher, you are. I've met people like you before.
Have you?
You're all rubbish.
What? Ooh.
That means, in given language, move away from any low-slung branch, as there's likely to be a snake lurking there.
This is Talk Sports. We are the Two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And when I say a very good morning, I am in mourning.
Right.
And I am talking, of course, about Sir George Martin.
Oh, well, still.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, it's the first opportunity you and I have had to come to air since the death of Sir George Martin, one of the greatest men of the modern era of popular music, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yes.
And you can take your Chelsea result and you can, fulminate
Yeah,
about
I can do that. Thank you very much.
You can take
It's very important. I think there's a massive problem at Chelsea. We need to discuss it.
in a minute. You can take your Brexit campaign, whatever that means.
You mean the Queen's Brexit campaign?
Well, the Queen's non-Brexit campaign.
Well, it depends who you believe.
And you can fulminate on that, okay?
It's a double use of the word fulminate.
You can even, if you want, focus on the Middle East and the refugee crisis, fulminate on that. But
That's three fulminates in the first 5 minutes.
It's a fulminating day, I'm telling you. But the most important story of the last 24 hours, without a shadow of a doubt, is the death of the great Sir George Martin. And I'm
But he was
outraged.
90, wasn't he?
I am
He was
outraged.
90. Hang on, he was 90.
I am outraged that as
You're just going to ignore me.
As a
I'll say it
licensed...
3 times. He was 90.
Yes, he was 90, yeah. Okay.
So as much as it's a very sad death, it's not a time for commiseration. It's a time for celebration because he lived a very long and full life.
It's a time for commemoration. That's the point I'm making.
Well, what are you commemorating?
Commemorating the life of the greatest record producer in the history of music.
Normally you commemorate a particular day.
I'm commemorating his
You
day.
don't commemorate a life. You celebrate a life.
Well, I'm celebrating and commemorating at the same time. I can do that. I'm a multitasker.
Really?
Now, let me tell you this. I am outraged that as a licence payer to the British Broadcasting Corporation, there didn't seem to be one single tribute programme, not one single tribute programme to Sir George Martin.
Well, maybe they're going to do it tonight.
On any of their multiple channel TV tonight. They're all, it's all very well putting on all this sort of garbage about the arts, right?
The arts.
The arts that nobody cares about. But what about the most popular record producer in history? For instance...
Maybe they didn't have time to put one together.
Well, they should have worked harder. They've got about 8 million people working for them, and I pay for it.
Are you sure that there weren't some fulminating type, sort of praiseworthy items on the news?
Whatever they were fulminating on today, they didn't fulminate on the right issue, and that is Sir George Martin. Now, let me tell you this.
Go on.
If, for instance, Sir Yehudi Menuhin had died today...
Who?
Yehudi.
Yehudi.
Sir Yehudi.
Sir Yehudi.
If Sir Yehudi... You find this amusing?
Some people pronounce it Menuhin.
Menuhin. Yehudi Menuhin, right? If he had died today, I can bet you...
Is he still alive?
Who?
Yehudi.
What is your problem?
I don't know if he's still alive. Yehudi.
Yehudi?
Yeah.
I think he is.
Is he?
He plays the violin, as you know. He's the world's greatest violin player.
Yeah.
Now then, if Sir Yehudi had sadly died today, which of course I don't want to happen under any circumstances...
absolutely not, no.
Do you know that the schedules would have been wiped clean?
No, I don't believe you.
And there would have been a 2-hour programme by now on Sir Yehudi, the greatest and all that kind of stuff. And what's more...
He's dead, by the way.
What?
Yehudi.
Yeah, I thought he was, actually, but I didn't want to say so in case he wasn't. I didn't want to prematurely kill him off.
He died 17 years ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
OK. Well, there you go.
He didn't make the 2000, the new century.
Oh, that's a shame, that, really.
Yeah.
Now then, what I was going to say is, supposing he was still alive and lived a bit longer and died today, there would have been a 2-hour documentary appreciation of Sir Yehudi tonight.
Well, why are you having to go to the BBC? Nobody else has done one either.
Well, the point is commercial television has to cope with the demand hands of earning their money to be able to broadcast. With the Beeb, it's all there.
Really?
They've got the resources. They've got a massive arts division. They've got that guy, Mr. Yentob, right?
Alan.
He's not Sir yet, is he?
I think he is, actually.
Is he?
Sir Alan Yentob, yeah.
OK, well, he's supposed to be head of the artistic side of the BBC.
I thought he was in a bit of a mire,
Well,
actually.
I think he's in a bit of a problem with that children's charity stuff sort of circulating around his head. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I think he'll step down from one role, but not the other. I think he's still head of
maybe
cultural.
he's a bit busy.
Anyway, the point is, surely he could have pulled together. He could have pulled together a load of his people to have put out a tribute programme to Sir George Martin. Now, if it had been Sir Yehudi, right, and there had been...
Did you know what they did when he died? Because I don't. It was 1999 when he died.
No.
Did they do a night of programming about him? I suspect they didn't.
Probably
not.
Probably. But anyway, what I was going to say is that would be typical of,
What about Sir Malcolm Sargent?
He wasn't much cop.
What?
He wasn't much cop.
You said he was one of the great composers of our time.
But that was when I was at school. That was quite a long time ago. Now, what I was going to say is, what I believe is this. Almost everybody's life who lived in the second half of the 20th century, their life was touched by the greatness of Sir George Martin. How many people could even name one piece of music that Sir Yehudi Menuhin even played, let alone wrote?
Why are you focusing on Sir Yehudi Menuhin?
Because he's a Sir, and so is George Martin.
He died 17 years ago.
By the way, there's something else I need to tell you.
Yeah, go on.
Did you know, because I do know this, the Sir Yehudi Menuhin... Sir Yehudi... Would you please stop this?
Yehudi.
Hey.
Go on.
Sir Yehudi Menuhin...
Why don't you just call him SYM?
No. His college, there's a college named after it.
Is there? What's it called?
It's called the Sir Yehudi Menuhin School of Violin Music. Right?
Are you sure?
Yeah, of course I'm sure. Of course I'm sure. And I tell you what, I've been there.
Have you?
And do you know why?
Where is it?
It is right opposite the entrance to Chelsea's training ground in Cobham in Surrey.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What a coincidence. You see how well we've somehow now managed to blend the two subjects together.
Exactly.
There's something very wrong at Chelsea, as I've said to you earlier.
That's a connection. Well, do you know what I once said to somebody at Chelsea? I was down there a few years ago, right, seeing somebody at Cobham from Chelsea. And I said to them, I've got a brilliant idea for you. You know all these young kids that come in who are culturally... Short? Yeah, well, they haven't always had the benefit of a great education. You know what I mean?
You mean footballers?
Yeah. I mean, take Jason Cundy, who played for Chelsea. Now,
what, are you saying he's not educated?
No, I'm saying that Jace did seem to have the opportunity of a decent education.
Yeah.
You know, he looks like a sort of fairly well-read sort of a chap.
He is, indeed.
But a lot of lads who turn up in football at the age of 16 have neglected their studies because of the dazzling lights of football fame.
Some of them, on the other hand, though, of course, are still doing their studies.
Some of them are.
Like
the lad at Manchester United.
Yeah, he went off to do his A-levels or something,
he certainly did.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, why don't Chelsea send some of their young kids to the Sir Yehudi Menuhin School of Music?
Yeah, just across the road.
I'm serious.
It says in Cobham Road, it says.
There you go. And teach them how to play the violin. Don't you think that'd be culturally a step forward?
No.
I think it'd be a step forward.
No, you can't just teach people to play the violin willy-nilly at the age of 16 or 17.
I thought you said you played the violin.
I did play the violin, but I was talented at that. But I started playing the violin when I was about 6.
Oh, you're trying to tell me that young footballers are too thick to play the violin?
But
That's what you just said.
No, I'm not.
That's what you just said.
No, that's not. What I'm saying is that you have to catch
That's a terrible attack on the social standing of the footballer.
Don't try and pin any nonsense on me just to try and boost your popularity.
You just said that.
What I said was that if you're going to become a violinist, you need to do it from an early age.
Yeah, well...
I did a story once outside of Philadelphia where a guy was teaching a 2-year-old to play the violin.
Right.
Because at that age, you can learn it much more quickly than you can at 16.
There's no reason why...
The older you get, the less easy it is to take in information.
Yeah, there's no reason why a 16-year-old can't pick up a fiddle and his bow and give it a bit of the old jig-a-jig, you know what I mean?
That's not what they do. That's not what they do at the Yehudi Menuhin School.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to be able to walk into a pub.
Yeah, but you haven't got any musical talent.
I'd love to be able to walk into a pub in Sligo on the west coast of Ireland with my fiddle under my coat, you know what I mean, and pull it out and then start the old...
Yeah, all right, you've already done that. Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to. But you wouldn't be able to because you haven't got musical talent.
Yeah, well, you say that, but...
Well, what musical instruments can you play?
Well, you see, I've never tried to play one. See,
Why not?
This is my...
Why did your parents not get you music lessons?
This is my theory in life.
Why did your parents not get you music lessons?
If at the age of 19...
Because they didn't want to waste money, because they knew you didn't have any talent.
If at the age of 19...
Why don't you answer the question?
If at the age of 19 I jumped into a Formula 1 motor racing car, I might have got round Brands Hatch in a world record time. I think everybody in the world may have a latent genius talent within them which they haven't yet explored. I mean, for instance...
Well, you haven't got one. Have you seen the time, by the way?
For instance...
One of the things you don't have a talent for is knowing what time it is. I've got some breaking news for you.
Breaking news?
Right, apparently last night there's an arts programme on the BBC called Arena. And they did a 90-minute tribute to Sir George Martin.
And they repeated it tonight.
What?
And I watched it. And guess what it was about?
What?
It was about Sir George Martin going deaf.
What?
But that's not a very good tribute, in my view.
Well, it's a tribute to Sir George Martin.
It was a tailor-made tribute.
Why didn't you mention this in this rant of yours?
Because it wasn't a tribute to his life. It just so happened they had this programme,
so
Arena.
He was deaf?
He was going deaf. And
how old was this tribute then?
I would say about 5 or 6 years.
Really?
Yes, seriously.
You're just making that up, aren't you?
No.
You don't know.
And the programme was made in association with a deaf charity to help people who are hard of hearing. So it wasn't a tribute to Sir George Martin. It was a programme about Sir George Martin supporting the deaf charity. And that is a totally different thing. I still demand that somebody should have done that programme tonight on the great and now, sadly, the late Sir George Martin.
Yeah, well, so far you haven't given us any tribute to him at all. You've just ranted and raved. I'm sure he'd be highly embarrassed. When we're talking to Steve Lillywhite, we'll get a tribute from him. How do you fancy that particular box of onions?
Strawberry fields forever.
Yeah, dear. This is Talk Sport.
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
I'm not one to fall out with people. I upset them. We have a discussion about it and realise I'm always right, and then we move on.
This afternoon from 4, Talk Sport.
We got a lot of trouble, Chief, on account of your son, Mac.
My boy Mac? Why? What's wrong with him?
Our boomerang won't come back.
Your boomerang won't come back?
My boomerang won't come back. My boomerang won't come back. I've waved the thing all over the place. Practiced till I was black in the face. I'm a big disgrace, the Aborigine race. My boomerang won't come back.
This is Talk Sport. We are, of course, the two mics. There will be the Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on. There will be the podcast coming up. There's an awful lot of people giving you a lot of grief over your attack on the BBC. They're all saying this thing was on BBC 4 last night.
But that was an Arena programme. That was already scheduled.
90 minutes Arena. Well, it probably wasn't scheduled.
That was
probably
just
the one thing that they could put together very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And it was very Beatles heavy. Yes. Check it out, Porky, says Paul.
I saw a bit of it. It was all about a very worthy charity which helps people with hearing problems. Yeah. But it wasn't.
Well,
it wasn't essentially about the life of Sir George Martin. So I know what I'm talking about here, pal.
That's not what people are saying. Chris says, "Shut him up." BBC 4 showed a George Martin Arena programme at 10 last night. Tell him to stop saying Yehudi.
Well, listen, I'm sorry, but I have got my facts right. I don't go to air unless I know exactly what I'm doing. It's called getting your ducks in a row, and I get my ducks in a row. Okay.
Okay. How about this one?
Yes.
Moz says TalkSport will do a 5-minute programme when Porky pops his clogs.
What?
I don't know if they would, actually.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if they would.
Yeah.
Woodenhead says, imagine if they did a tribute to Porky's achievements when he passes. It would be the shortest TV show of all time.
Oh, really? That's very nice, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
After years of toil and labour, is that it?
Yeah,
Is that it?
Here's one from Steve. He says, why doesn't Porky do a George Martin tribute tonight from 4 to 6 and then MG can go home early? That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Why don't you do that?
Well, I could, but the point is it's so heavily musically inspired that all you would need is somebody to say, and this was made in 1967, 1969, 1973 or whatever, and then just let it speak for itself, i.e. the music should speak for itself. Because, for instance, Sir George Martin, took Eleanor Rigby off Paul McCartney when he offered it up and said, right, OK, don't worry, you can all go home now. Said, what do you mean? He said, go home. So they went home. So they then hired an orchestra.
Yeah.
Not one single Beatle played on Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah.
It was the words and the rhythm of Paul McCartney with a symphony orchestra providing all the musical sounds.
Well, because by then he pretty much put his trust in George Martin. But when he suggested that they should put some strings on yesterday, he wasn't very happy about that. And George, very cleverly, because he was quite a smart man, said, well, I'll tell you what, if you don't like it, we won't use it, but why don't we give it a go? And he persuaded him to let him put some strings on the back end of it.
Yes.
And when he did, he thought, this is brilliant.
Yeah. The two I remember, and by the way, tomorrow morning's papers have come in. They are full of pages and pages and pages, of course, of tribute to Sir George Martin and obituaries to his life. So there will be a lot of detailed information there.
Shall we see what they've done with it in the New Day?
In the New Day?
The New Day's got a great front page this morning. Yes. This is our new favourite newspaper, right?
Yes, yeah,
It doesn't put any news in it.
Yes.
The front page says, could this cafe stop our elderly from starving to death?
Oh, right.
And there's a picture of a lot of people smiling on the front. So presumably they're not starving to death before they went in there.
They all look very happy, actually.
They don't they?
They all look very happy.
No, there's nothing about George Martin.
The way that they've constructed that picture on the front, it looks like one of the women, look at it, Mike, that front page, receiving some tea and scones in the cafe is in fact a sergeant from the army, because she seems to have 2 stripes on her shoulder, do you see?
Is that on her shoulder, or is that not some kind of arrow that's pointing to the headline?
Who knows?
I mean it really is incredible. Well, I'm looking through the paper, I'm seeing nothing on George Martin at all.
Yeah, hang on.
And I'm now at page 11. My baby refused to die. Yeah. Junior doctors go on strike.
Hang on.
Cure for blindness could be in sight. That's a good headline, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Not very hackneyed. Oh, there's some sport in a funny place.
Yeah, Neil Frizzell, my mum and dad have quite frankly been behaving like children since their divorce until now.
Here we go. There's a tribute to him. I read the news today, oh boy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what page it is there.
Let's have a look here.
It's way back here, look.
Let me have a look.
Farewell to George Martin, the 5th Beatle.
Have you seen the picture in the middle of this paper?
No.
It's a picture of a jellyfish.
Is it?
It is literally an underwater picture of a jellyfish.
Yeah, well, they do like picture specials, don't they? Yeah. It's quite a cool picture, mind you. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, you know Paul McCartney's The Long and Winding Road?
Yes.
Paul McCartney didn't want all the orchestra music in that either as well to start off with. And the other one I remember is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Yeah.
Years later, John Lennon said when he sent that in, because remember that was like at the height of sort of Summer of Love and Flower Power and Nefarious Substances and all that kind of stuff.
It's the first album I ever owned.
Oh, was it? What, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band?
Anyway, but it was bought by my dad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right, oh, yeah, OK.
But gave it to me.
Anyway, remember, just to use a comparison, remember the 2 versions of Layla, Derek and the Dominoes, Eric Clapton, you know, Layla.
What do you mean 2 different versions?
Well, the 2 versions was the heavy rock version, and then years later...
Well, he did an unplugged version.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's not really 2 versions, is it?
Well, it is.
This one's an acoustic version and one isn't.
Yeah, but the acoustic vertion was much slower, you know.
Well, it was an acoustic version. Yeah. You bought that on Eric Clapton's Greatest Hits, didn't you?
What?
Did you buy that on Eric Clapton's Greatest Hits?
No. I used to hear it in the Brick Cafe on 3rd Avenue. Which
the
had
Brick Cafe?
Yeah, a great jukebox. Do you remember it?
No.
The one on the corner?
No.
It was on the corner of the street you lived in.
3rd Avenue where?
3rd or 2nd.
You're talking about the Bank Cafe?
The Bank Cafe, that's right.
The Brick Cafe.
The Bank Cafe.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, what I was going to say was... John Lennon said years later, he said, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was too powerful.
Yeah.
You know, it was too loud, it was too rock-like. He said, I wanted it to be a lot more, relaxed. You know, I wanted it to be lazy and slow.
But it was quite lazy and slow.
It wasn't. It was bum, bum, bum.
No, it's very slow.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Yeah, the choruses.
Bum, bum, bum,
this is not an excuse for you to sing a lot of Beatles songs.
No, of course not.
People will start complaining.
I suppose we've got to talk really about some of the football now, mate. Because,
well, we should.
Because I am incredibly excited that Everton now, I believe, are in a position to give Chelsea a knockout blow this season.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, certainly Chelsea, I thought, played all right last night, but they just weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And, when you think of all the other teams going into the quarterfinals, they don't really belong there because something is rotten at the heart of Chelsea, and this is what I've been saying to you for the last 10 minutes. But
isn't it interesting that the hearing involving Dr. Eva Carneiro is now into its 4th day?
Yes, it is, yeah.
And everybody thought that when the 2 most powerful people at Chelsea, Mr. Buck and the lady called... Marina Granovskaya, who is personal assistant to Mr. Abramovich.
Yes.
When they both turned up at the hearing in Croydon, in Surrey, the tribunal, everybody thought, well, a deal will be done within hours, because they are the 2...
But it wasn't done.
They're the 2 people who can sign the documents at Chelsea.
Right.
Deal not done.
No.
Dr. Eva asking...
Don't you think that going back to the start of the season, where, there was a whole John Stones business, Jose Mourinho couldn't get his hands on John Stones.
Yes.
Mourinho was kind of cranky from the very beginning, didn't really sign very many players in the summer that he wanted. Then suddenly there was the Eva Carneiro thing.
Which happened on day 1, by the way.
Yeah.
First game of the season.
And I mean, it just was a very poisonous atmosphere. And there's still been no explanation for any of it. No. I just don't know when that story is going to come out. And I'm sure that when it does, it will be quite explosive.
Yes, I think you have something there.
Now,
it is amazing it hasn't been sorted. But anyway, Chelsea now, as you're quite rightly saying, a real pickle. No Champions League football next season.
Yeah.
No new boss. Because if they'd have appointed a new boss before last night, he might have thought that he had dreams of Champions League football next season?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. But here's a piece of news you may not know about, but it's been written under the name you may recognise. One Nick Rostron-Pike.
Oh, Nick Rostron-Pike.
Remember him?
Nick Rostron-Pike. Yes, I know Nick. Yes, of course.
You know
yeah.
NPR, as you used to call it.
NPR, yeah.
Now, he's got a piece in the Sun Dream Team saying that Everton are going to go for Jose Mourinho.
Really?
Yes.
What a
Look, you've really been left speechless.
Oh, what a revelationary piece of writing.
He says it's all become about because of Toffee's new major shareholder, Farhad Moshiri, and his investment in the club.
Yeah.
Reports from Turkey suggested the ex-Real Madrid and Inter Milan coach could be on his way to Goodison Park.
The ex-Turkey?
No, reports from Turkey.
Oh, reports from Turkey. Why Turkey? Why Turkey?
Well, I presume because Turkey is closest, footballing-wise, to Mr. Farhad Moshiri's empire.
I see. I
would assume.
Well, he's Iranian, isn't he?
Yeah, well, yes, but I mean, you don't hear much out of Iran, do you, in a football front?
No, that's true.
So it might well be that the word coming out of Turkey is closest to where he operates from.
Well, absolutely true. You could be. Well, that's an intriguing.
Isn't that intriguing?
It's very intriguing.
I'm
indeed,
intrigued by your reaction to it because I think you practically lost your voice.
I can't believe it myself.
I think
stranger
things have happened.
How do I say this without sounding like I'm being disloyal to my own club? But I think that Jose Mourinho can only really be employed by about 3 clubs in the world, 3 stellar football clubs in the world, and Benfica's not one of them because he's already managed Real Madrid. Although it has happened in the past.
Benfica?
Barcelona. Barcelona, I beg your pardon.
What?
Barcelona.
Yeah. Why did you say Benfica?
Because my brain was scrambled. My brain was scrambled.
Your brain is scrambled.
And what I'm saying...
Finally, you've admitted it.
What I'm saying... I tell you what, if Jose Mourinho came to Everton, it would be utterly superb.
I know.
Supposing he's coming on the promise...
I can tell how excited you are.
No, supposing he's coming on the promise that they're going to build a new stadium and all that kind of stuff.
It's not out of the question,
Of course it's not out of the question. Brilliant.
Yeah, it could well be.
Brilliant theory.
I think I better get you some medicine. Give you to lie down. This is Talk Sport. We've got Steve Lillywhite coming up in a while. He'll talk a little bit about Chelsea and about George Martin as well.
Get the job done on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Will Spain reign again?
And Spain are into the lead.
Are France in with a chance? Or will the 3 Lions finally rule? As the International League prepare to go head-to-head to lift the biggest prize in European football, join Hawksby and Jacobs every Monday from 1 to find out which team can get the job done. You wait for Euro 2016 on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Low prices on top trade brands. Open late 7 days a week. Find your nearest branch at toolstation.com.
Take control of your game with the new and improved mobile betting experience from William Hill. This is our fastest in-play product yet, with easier access to your full range of in-play markets. And our new scoreboards give you in-depth stats and updates, so you can take it all in, then take control. Download the new and improved William Hill app now, with a 5-star rating from The Sun. When the fun stops, stop.
Hey, terms and conditions man, you seem a little stressed.
I am. My motor is due its MOT and it needs new tyres, bulbs and wipers, and all sorts of other terms and conditions apply.
Have a peek on eBay. You'll definitely be able to find the right part for your motor. What they don't have isn't worth having, and it's a bargain too.
Really? Is it participating stores only?
It's on the web. It means you can chill out. You do come across as a bit uptight.
OK, great. Please remember that all parts of my motor are nodding dogs within my vehicle are mine and I reserve all rights.
All right.
Whatever you need for your MOT, you'll always find the right part on eBay. Visit eBay today.
Terms and conditions apply.
No, they don't.
Are you ready for the Cheltenham Festival? Betfair are giving you 3 free bets on day 1 every time you back a winner at 3-1 or higher. That's 3 free bets on every race on the first day of Cheltenham. So get ready for the exciting and the nail-biting. Get ready for the off. Visit Betfair today. Betfair. Tap, tap, boom.
Applies to day 1 races only. To win and win part of each way singles at 3-1 SP or more. First bet per race qualifies. Free match bets up to £25 each. Free bet stakes not returned. Exclusions and terms at betfair.com.
Tonight from 6, Europa League football, live on Talk Sport.
Perfect timing!
Join Mark Saggers for full match commentary of Borussia Dortmund versus Spurs.
Flicked on again and it's in! Spurs have the lead!
Followed by extended updates of Liverpool's clash with Manchester United.
That could be the winner!
Europa League football, live on Talk Sport.
With Arnold Clark. Buy a new 16-plate car this weekend and get 2 years free servicing.
Right, said Fred, both of us together, one each end and steady as we go. tried to shift it, couldn't even lift it. We was getting nowhere, and so we had a cup of tea. And right said Fred, give a shout for Charlie. Up comes Charlie from the floor below. After straining, heaving and complaining, we was getting nowhere, and so we had a cup of tea. And Charlie had a think, and he thought we all should
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Lots and lots of tweets coming in. How about this one from Derek in Pencoed, who says, would the Premier League clubs have agreed to cap the cost of away tickets to £30 if there hadn't been a number of high-profile protests by football fans, i.e. Liverpool, over the last few months?
Well, I think it's very commendable. I wonder if the bog cleaner himself, Derek, was on one of those.
He's a fan of Liverpool for 45 years.
Oh, really? Yeah, I wonder if he was in on the protest.
I wish you'd stop referring to him like that.
Why?
It's very insulting.
No, it's not.
Because he's explained he's not a bog cleaner.
No, but it's a noble profession.
Yeah, but he's a cleaner.
Somebody's got to clean the bogs.
Yeah, but he's a cleaner. Here's one from Kevin who says, Porky almost had an episode when Mourinho was mentioned in the same sentence as Everton. He says, dream on. Here's one from Jamie saying, Porky admitting that his brain is scrambled finally. Maybe his favourite mate, Dr. Banner, can operate on it and fix that so he chats less rubbish.
Good idea. Anyway, now listen, there are other things to talk about apart from Sir George Martin tonight.
Indeed.
And obviously, one of them is the issue surrounding the fact that I have always said.
All right, so you've now mentioned about 7 or 8 or 9 sentences which have said nothing.
Right.
Why are you stalling?
But I'm not stalling.
You are.
I'm going to talk to you about Chester, right?
Chester?
Yeah, Chester is very close to Liverpool. Yeah. Liverpool is, of course, where the Beatles
Closer to
came
Wales,
from.
Isn't it?
It is, actually, yeah. Where the Beatles came from, and hence the connection with Sir George Martin, OK?
Yeah.
Now, I read a piece today from some complete dope called Giles Brandreth, right?
Giles Brandreth, yeah, a very well-known writer.
A very well-known writer, and formerly an MP for...
I don't know.
Chester.
Oh, was he for Chester?
Yeah, he was MP for Chester.
I didn't know that.
From 1992.
He's not from Chester, though, is he?
Well, this is my very point I'm about to make to you. You're ahead of yourself here without knowing it, right?
Okay.
So he was MP for Chester from 1992 to 1997, OK? So what he writes is this. Broadcaster and ex-Tory MP Giles Brandreth, who turned 68 yesterday, so it was his birthday.
Well, he didn't write that bit, did he?
No, he didn't write that bit, you idiot, but I'm saying this is why...
Why did you call me an idiot? I'm just pointing out that you made a mistake.
No, I haven't made a mistake.
You said this is what he says, and then you read out the description of him.
Just listen,
All
right?
Go on then.
So 68 yesterday, and therefore somebody wrote a piece saying, happy birthday, Giles, and he comes back and says this. Now, this is what he says. He says, now that I'm 68, I can speak the truth. I can tell you the one thing I really, really couldn't bear when I was an MP, and then, I'll remind you, it was for Chester, 1992 to 1997, were my constituents.
You couldn't stand them.
Couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
Happiness is the constituency in the rear view mirror. I mean,
he's being honest.
That is very nice, isn't it?
Well, he's being honest, isn't he? And I wish more politicians were as honest as him.
Well, I think it's disgusting, and once more, it adds succour to my campaign.
Yeah, and which campaign is that?
This is a campaign that people should only be MP for a town they've actually resided in for at least 5 years. They shouldn't allow these people to be parachuted
Carpetbaggers, they call them.
Carpetbaggers, rotten boroughs, they were called in the 1800s, i.e., just find a field, right, get the MP in the field to declare ownership of the field and elect him as MP
but this
for
is
Parliament.
a party system all over, isn't it?
But it is disgusting. Don't you think it's disgusting that a man can come forward and say, I really dislike my constituents, because that is hypocrisy of the very worst sort.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's absolute honesty of the best sort. I'm very glad that he came out and said that.
Well, I think it's disgusting.
Because now we know how he feels.
I think it's disgusting. When you think that people like Peter Mandelson, urbane, southern...
Well, he wasn't southern or urbane.
Hang on.
Not when I met him.
Hang on. During his career, became an urbane, southern-based member
Notting Hill type.
Of the Notting Hill chattering classes...
Yeah.
Suddenly becomes MP for Hartlepool.
Yeah.
When he goes up there, walks into a fish and chip shop, takes a portion of fish and chips, is offered mushy peas.
That's an apocryphal story.
And says to the guy offering them, is that guacamole?
Story. No.
Is that guacamole?
No. What do you mean, guacamole?
Yes, that's right.
No, that story never happened.
This is how out of touch the guy is, right?
No, that story never happened.
This is how out of touch the
Why
guy is.
are you not listening to a word I'm saying?
Because you are trying to...
That story didn't happen.
You're trying to pull down the principle of my story, and the principle of my story...
I'm telling you that you've fallen for the trap of believing in apocryphal story.
No.
It's not true.
Most MPs who go and represent constituencies in which they've never lived are frauds, shysters, chancers, charlatans, opportunists, OK?
Of course they are.
And that sums up an awful lot of MPs, in my view.
Not all of them. And frankly, if more of them were as honest as Giles Brandreth, I think that the world would be a better place.
Well, I think it's disgusting, and I think he should now be taken to task. I think he should go back and apologise to the people of Chester.
Why should he?
Chester's Tory Lord Mayor is a guy called Hugo Dainham, OK? And I think he's going to make some sort of comment about
Was he a Tory MP for Chester, then? Is
yes,
Chester a Tory heartland? Is that what you're telling me?
No, it was then. I think it's been Lib Dem ever since.
Oh, right. So
it's
always been a jumped-up petty bourgeois sort of place, then?
No. It's always been a fine trading post from Roman times, which means commercially...
No, I'm talking about the people that vote in an MP.
Commercially, it was prosperous, and it was... all the time I was a kid, it was always a Tory constituency, because it not only had the city of Chester with all the wealth that came from the Grosvenor family...
So how do you make out it's full of working-class people, then?
Well, because we've got a few council estates there, Blaken and Leitch and all that, and they're the workers, you know.
Yeah, but that's not where you lived.
No, I didn't live there. No.
So how do you make out you're working class then? So you come from a Tory heartland, right?
Yeah.
You lived in a house which is now worth £250,000.
No,
you went to what you refer to as a private school.
Direct Grant Grammar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you call it. You make out like it was a public school.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So I fail to see where any of this resonates with the working class northern background that you espouse.
I was the working class boy who only got to a public school on a scholarship because I was very bright, and that was through a direct Grant Grammar School situation, OK?
It must have been by...
That's all I can tell you.
Right.
The fact that I come from a Tory heartland means I fought against the system to actually elevate
Labour
myself.
in 1997, apparently, which is when the whole country went Labour.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
went back to the Tories in 2010, and now it's Labour again.
Yeah, is it really? Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Anyway, what I was going to say to you is, I do think that's an utter disgrace.
I don't.
I mean, for instance, if I were to now choose to become an MP, it would be for Gosport, because I have lived there now nearly 10 years. Okay?
You don't live in Gosport?
I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You live there part-time.
Well, it doesn't matter. I still live there.
How many days a year would you say you spend there?
Everybody lives in their town part-time, because if they've got a good job, they go off and work in other places.
Really?
It's as simple as that.
All right, okay.
The only people who you shouldn't vote as an MP is a guy who's got a job that he goes to at 9 o'clock and comes home at 5 o'clock in the evening because he's got no experience.
So you're
of life.
saying lots of people have got two homes, is that what you're saying?
Well, of course a lot of people have got two homes. Not everybody's got two homes, but some have.
Not everybody.
I mean, I think, for instance, a perfect MP...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Perfect MP for Chester would be the man who's had the tobacco kiosk on the Town Hall Square for the last 30 years.
And what's his name?
Because his finger's on the pulse.
And what's his name?
Fred.
You don't know, do you? Because you've never been to Chester in about the last 30 years.
No, that's not true.
When was the last time you were there? When you tried to rescue the football club?
Yes.
How did that go?
Well, they're still there, the football club. I mean, they weren't after I got there. No. But they have...
they've reconstituted themselves.
They've come back to life,
all right.
Indeed.
Now, we've got to speak some sense next, because Steve Lillywhite's going to join us.
Excellent.
He's the producer of all sorts of things, the Rolling Stones, U2, you name it.
Excellent.
In fact, he's produced them. We'll find out what he says about George Martin and, of course, about Chelsea. This is TalkSport.
Make sure you're ahead of the game and listen to Kick Off on TalkSport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Tonight from 7, we get in-depth analysis, heavyweight pundit opinion, and outspoken fan reaction on the nation's most passionate pre-match football forum.
You won't miss a trick, flick, or kick of any of the action.
Plus, hear the latest form and odds ahead of all the matches that matter from 888 Sports On The Ball BetSpurt. Kick Off, weeknights from 7 on TalkSport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Please gamble responsibly.
TalkSport. Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Stunning finish!
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. TalkSport.
8 of them.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk to Steve Lillywhite. Man knows a little bit more about music.
And that was the only music on that track. The Beatles didn't play any of it. All they did was harmonise the voices, and then he put the music around it.
Yeah.
Quite genius stuff.
Your knowledge of music production doesn't cease to amaze me.
Yeah,
let's talk to a man who knows a little bit more about it, though.
Indeed.
Steve Lillywhite. Steve, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, boys. A very sad day.
Yes, of course. I mean, we'll push Chelsea just to the back of the queue for the moment. Let's talk about Sir George Martin, because back when he was doing that kind of thing, nobody else had really thought of doing it, had they?
No, I tell you what it was. It's a perfect storm. What you got was a band who had not just one great songwriter, but they had three. And what you had was a record producer who was completely added to what they didn't have. And you had a studio which was always ready to help them with the latest technology at the time. I mean, it was fantastic. You could imagine the Beatles would have been great with just Paul or just John. The fact that you've got all of them does make, and George Martin as a great father figure type producer, really made it.
Oh, Steve, I so agree with you. I mean, he knew nothing about rock music, but he knew about classical music. He knew even about Scottish dancing music. He knew about orchestral music. And when you think of things like Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, where he introduced a steam organ, you know, when you think of Penny Lane, where he introduced the piccolo, these would never have occurred to Lennon and McCartney and an ordinary producer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, there's My Boomerang Won't Come Back by Charlie Drake.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, we played that a little bit earlier on.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, as well as Sunrise and and actually, he produced Alfie. I didn't realise that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and do you know
the
other thing, Steve, which I never ceases to amaze me. I always knew that he played piano on up to 40 of the Beatles records, but I thought it just meant he played the odd sort of few notes here or there. But if you remember John Lennon's fantastic single "Love," which starts very, very quietly and then builds up a crescendo and then goes quiet again.
Of course.
Yeah, George Martin is the piano player in that, and the only musical.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the only musical sound in that song is a piano, and it is George Martin, a classically trained piano player, who plays it. It's unbelievable.
Did you know that he produced Goldfinger?
No,
Shirley Bassey.
No, I didn't. No.
Did you know that he produced Ferry Cross the Mersey as well?
Yes, I did. Jerry and the Pacemakers. Yeah.
I mean, I presume now, Steve, there's a very big difference, and you've always been associated with sort of with bands and not so much with like synthesised music and computerised music and all that. But there must be such a world of difference from production now to what it was then, as you said. Like Abbey Road was kind of on the cutting edge of technology. I mean,
yes, and to be honest, now all the technology that you have in Abbey Road. In those days, you have on your iPhone 6.
Yeah.
So it's a different world. But music and the decisions that you have to make, and the choices you have to make while you make music is still the same.
Yes.
It's just the technology. In some ways, the technology now makes it more difficult because you've got too many choices.
Right.
In those days, you had to really try hard to get things done. Whereas now you've got, I've always said everyone now has the ability to make Sgt. Pepper's in their front room because, but does anyone make Sgt. Pepper's? No one makes music as good as that. And it may be because of the limitations in art that they had. Made them push more.
Well, that's amazing, because in those days, Steve, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert, didn't they make it on 16-track machines, whereas today you can have...
No,
go on.
Sgt. Pepper was made on, was actually 4 tracks.
4?
But towards the end, they managed to put 2 4 tracks together and link them together. So no, it was literally, and the early Beatles were really 4 tracks.
Yeah.
That's why Sgt. Pepper's was a bit of a milestone, because they got this technology that enabled them to go from 4 to 8 by syncing 2 machines together. It was
that's incredible.
It really was incredible. So what you had to really make decisions as you went along.
Yeah,
and of course, carry on.
I was going to say, how many tracks are used today for if a new group today was a super group? How many tracks do they lay down the stuff on today?
Oh, well, this is the thing. Because of the infinite amount of space that you have on digital, you have an infinite amount of tracks.
Good God.
So you can keep layering and layering and layering and thinking that you're doing it better and better.
Yeah, I understand.
But in fact, but what you're not doing is making the things that are there really important. And that's what George Martin... And in fact, this is a story that Bono told me about George Martin, that he always says, everything must be there for a reason. It's a very simple thing, but so many people try and just put all this sort of washy stuff over. But the great thing about the Beatles, who were, the best music ever made, was that there was not a hair out of place.
Yeah. Because of George Martin, you mean?
Well, it was because he was steering them.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
He was the captain of the ship, and he allowed them. I'm sure there were many ideas they had that didn't work.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they had George Martin to say, no, don't do that, do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what a great producer does. He steers, and he, you know, as you say, he was a great arranger.
Yeah.
And came from a completely different world.
Yes, absolutely.
Not to put too fine a point on it, and before we run out of time, Steve, it seems to me that Chelsea need a decent producer at the moment, don't they?
Well,
do.
you know, I think as much as that, I think Paris are a really great team. I mean, they've, you know, what can I say? It's not been Chelsea's year, and it won't be. I think you boys, the Evertonians, may well give us a bit of an upset at the weekend. And
but what's gone wrong? I mean, something. I think I'm very much of the opinion, because I have a sort of suspicious mind about these things. That something terrible's happened at Chelsea, and we won't know. Maybe we'll never know what it was. But something terrible happened sometime between, you know, sort of July and October, and you know, they're still kind of reaping the whirlwind of that.
Right. Well, but also at the end, towards the end of last season, we weren't playing very well, and everyone said that was because we'd taken our foot off the brake because we'd won the league pretty much easily. Now, maybe that actually the beginning of the problems were then, and we didn't. You know, maybe when people worked out that Costa was just a human being, and not some sort of gorilla in a human suit. You know.
Yeah, sure.
Very strange.
But you know, but just for this weekend, we've got Hazard and Costa both out, I think. So.
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah, it looks like the season might even get worse already. Steve, listen, thanks. We're going to leave it there. Steve Lillywhite, a pleasure to speak to you once again. We've got lots more coming up. Next hour, we're going to be talking about the missing plane from 2 years ago. It's still missing. Nobody knows what happened to it. This is TalkSport.
The FA Cup 6th round, live on TalkSport. Tomorrow night from 7, join Mark Saggers for a kick-off FA Cup special. Get all the build-up and full match commentary of Reading versus Crystal Palace. Then, Saturday from 1, join Jeff Peters for Match Day Live. He'll be taking you around the grounds, bringing you all the goals from all the games. Ahead of full match commentary of the FA Cup clash between Everton and Chelsea from 5:30.
It's a goal!
Sunday from 1, it's a Sunday exclusive FA Cup special. Mark Saggers brings you all the build-up ahead of full match commentary of Arsenal versus Watford.
Excellent piece of play.
Plus kick-by-kick commentary of Manchester United versus West Ham.
What a finish!
The FA Cup 6th round, live on TalkSport.
We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course, and we've got a few tweets to read out. How about this one from Ty, which I think is a slightly backhanded compliment. That was an unusually high-quality guest for your show. Is Steve a regular?
Oh, well,
of course he's a regular.
Have you explained to the audience exactly who Steve is?
Well, Steve Lillywhite is a Grammy Award-winning producer in his own right, of course, and produced many albums for many great artists, including U2, and Talking Heads and the Rolling Stones and all sorts of other people. He's still doing it. He's based out in Jakarta in Indonesia now as well.
Yes, that's
so he actually
right.
listened. The reason that we got him on the show in the first place was because he actually listens to the show.
Yeah, that's right.
And he made a couple of contributions a little bit earlier.
That's right.
Irish one says this: you're 100% right. Something did happen at Chelsea. I said it a few times, and I said Jose would be gone at Christmas.
Yeah.
Roy says Porky's trying to bully old MG. What a plank! He couldn't, along with his flying monkey cult.
How am I trying to bully you?
I don't know.
No, I don't
either.
He
must be referring back to when you sent a rather unfortunately tweet laced with violence before on your way in, saying that if I wasn't disrespectful enough to George Martin, that you would mash me or something.
Yeah, mash your face in.
I don't know what you meant by that. So anyway, in response to that, I just retweeted out the punching competition that we had.
Remember? I see, yes.
Where I beat you with one punch.
Yeah, but that's because I used my wrong arm. I used my weaker arm.
Your right arm?
Yeah, just to taunt you.
Is that weaker than your left arm? Are you a southpaw, are you?
No. My left arm is the, Henry Hammer
arm. Well, then
you
must be a southpaw.
No, I'm not a southpaw.
Southpaw's left arm is stronger than their right arm.
Yeah, well,
they lead with their right and they knock you out with their left.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what southpaw is.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
No. Now listen, I want to pay tribute to Derek from Pencourt.
Yes,
the bog cleaner, right?
Yeah,
because people think that because
you shouldn't call him that.
Hang on, people think because I call him the bog cleaner, I'm deriding him. I'm not. I admire people who do his job. Now, those details he sent in about keeping a bathroom clean, immaculate, that's fantastic. I like to know that he's got those sort of standards.
Yes.
More than once, I've gone to the manager of an establishment I've been in and said, excuse me, do you know there is no soap left in your men's bathroom?
You told me in the past that you sometimes carry soap around with you and put it in.
I do. Well, sometimes I've done that. I've been across the road to, the pound shop and got one of those pump-action soap things and put it in there because... Well, I'm terrified that if there's no soap in the bathrooms, and I've been to see the manager and asked for action, and he hasn't done it, that somebody will go into that bathroom, not wash their hands, and start spreading E. coli or...
Why are you terrified?
Because it can happen. If you don't have soap to wash people's hands in bathrooms, of course it can happen.
No, just don't touch anything with your hands.
Sorry?
Just don't touch anything with your hands.
Hang on, how do you know it's not a member of staff who's in the kitchen making the food?
You heard what I said. You just don't touch anything with your hands.
What are you on about?
When you go to a public bathroom, just don't touch anything.
Well, how do you wash your hands if you don't touch the tap, you
don't
idiot?
wash your hands.
Well, I do.
You don't touch anything, so you don't need to wash your hands.
I do, believe me. And on more than one occasion, I've gone to the manager and said, look, I want you to put some soap in there. And I've stood there until he's actually summoned one of his staff to go and do it.
This is another one of the pubs where they love you, I suppose,
On one occasion, when the guy just sneered at me and all that, I said, look, A, I'm never using this place again. B, this is a health hazard. And C, you're getting it from health and safety.
Really?
He said, what? And I rang them in front of him. I rang the local council. I rang the local council.
You rang the local council?
Yeah.
Did they not put you on hold?
No.
Did you not get like an automated message?
I know. I got through to somebody.
We're experiencing an exceptionally high level of calls at the moment.
Yeah, I said, I want the health and safety office, please. And at that point, he said, OK. And he went and did it. But you have to be firm about these things. But it is a very, very important part of our life.
You must be.
Well, I'm sorry, but if more people had the sort of standards I've got about, hygiene in public places, we wouldn't have all these terrible, problems.
Like what?
Well, we have problems.
What problems have we got?
We've got all sorts of problems.
Well, what are you talking about? To be more specific.
I'll tell you one problem I want to talk to you about.
Go on,
then. Scientists now think that they have interpreted the way birds speak.
Eh?
The way birds speak.
Is this the same as the rooks and the crows you were talking about the other day?
It's not. It's more linked to the way canaries speak. And what they've worked out, and this is absolutely true, done through computers and all that kind of stuff, is that birds use language like humans do.
Yeah.
And they join up specific noises, which we'll call chirps, chirp, chirp.
Chirp, yeah.
Chirp, chirp.
Chirpy,
right?
chirpy, cheep, cheep.
Yeah, that's right. They can link them together to form complex sentences.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just like birdsong we're talking about.
Yes,
here.
it is.
Which is a beautiful thing, I have to say. There's nothing better.
Yeah, up until now, seriously, reading my journals, I found this out this afternoon, right? Nature journals.
Oh, yeah.
Scientists didn't know that birds... scientists knew that birds were intelligent, but not intelligent enough to string together the calls they make to generate new meanings in the same way humans can, i.e., they can use grammar. Birds can use grammar. Now, this
why would they want to use grammar?
To communicate with each other in a much more explicit way than we believed in the first place.
So what do you mean they use past tense?
Yes, they
future
can.
Tense?
Yes, they can.
That sort of thing?
Yes, they can. Yes. Now,
what sort of things do they say?
Well, I'm just about to say to you, this came about through a study of a group of Japanese great tits, which is a bird who has a very particularly strong sort of chirruping sort of sound. You know what I mean?
Really?
And what they do is they combine their tweets to send new messages. So they link them together.
They tweet as well?
Eh?
They tweet as well?
Yeah, they tweet and chirrup at the same time.
They tweet?
Yeah. Seriously. So, for instance, these birds, which I'm talking about, their vocalisations were examined and scientists identified one call which said, "Come here." So,
wow.
So, tweet, tweet,
yeah, well, that's
means
not
come here.
That's not very surprising. Well, that's not very surprising at all. I think you're going to give me some kind of complex, conversation they were having.
No.
Of course they would say, "Come here," or "Get lost," or "This is my nest," or these are my babies.
No.
Of course they didn't make those
you don't get
noises.
me. You like every other human, like millions of humans, you thought birds just sat on a branch and just went chirp, chirp.
No, I didn't.
Tweet, tweet.
No. I always assumed.
But they don't. They're actually communicating with a particular other bird.
Of course they are.
Yeah, but
but I know that.
The breakthrough we've got, Mike,
is not a breakthrough.
It is. We know that the bird said on that branch there is actually talking to a bird 6 feet away on another branch, not just tweeting and chirping into midair.
I'm a great student of birds, as you know.
What?
I'm a great student of birds.
Well, you don't know as much as I do, then.
I do. I watch them in the garden, actually, because everywhere I live, and have lived, funnily enough, I'm followed around by a pair of doves.
Right.
Who are basically mate for life.
Yes.
Everywhere I go, there's always a pair of doves which I can watch, and I can watch their behaviour in the garden.
And what have you learned from their behaviour?
Well, I've learned that they communicate with each other constantly.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't interpret what they're actually saying.
Well, you can have a pretty good guess, and come here is hardly, revolutionary, is it?
What's the breakthrough is, come here can be linked to another expression which we've...
Go there.
Which we've interpreted. No, scan for danger. So it could be...
Scan for danger.
Chirp, chirp, which means come here, with... Tweet, 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 which is scan for danger.
Yeah.
So it means come here.
Well, that's not surprising me either.
Come here, there's a sparrowhawk about, OK? And when they say that, they are then speaking actually to the whole flock of birds that they're with, and they all get together. Strength in numbers is how they defend themselves, OK?
They're not necessarily in a flock, though, are they?
The syntax that we use...
A flock of seagulls.
The syntax that we use in English grammar is not unique anymore to human beings.
Well, hang on, I thought these were Japanese birds. Why are they speaking in English?
No, I didn't say that. What I said was...
You said they're using English grammar.
I said the syntax we use in English grammar is not unique to humans anymore. The same sort of combination of sounds and words is made by birds.
No, I think it's rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
Absolute rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
Rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
Absolute cobblers.
I had a look at a study from David Wheatcroft, doctor at the Department of Ecology and Genetics at Uppsala University in Sweden.
Really?
And he says syntax has evolved in these Japanese tits, and it gives us insight into... Oh, don't be so schoolboyish. For goodness sake.
Well, it's the way you say it.
Well, that was the species of bird they looked at, OK?
Yes.
Language is one of humans...
Why are they not speaking in Japanese?
They don't speak in any language. They speak in bird language.
So it's not English, then?
No, of course it's not English. But the way that they link the sounds that come out of their throat together is just like the syntax in English language, OK?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, there's another 10 minutes of my life I've wasted. I'll never get out time back.
Unless I told you these things, you'd never know about them.
I don't want to know about them.
You'd never know about them.
I don't want to know about them.
Gibbons are even better.
There's no point filling your head with a load of old nonsense that's of no use to man or beast.
Gibbons in Thailand, right, are able to make response to particular events. They can see like a tree falling over and then turn around and tell all their mates about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why haven't their mates seen it falling over?
Because they might be not there or looking the other way or something like that. You see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about dolphins and the dastardly Russians coming up next. This is Talk Sport.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at Ford.co.uk.
Take control of your game with the new and improved mobile betting experience from William Hill. This is our fastest in-play product yet, with easier access to your full range of in-play markets. And our new scoreboards give you in-depth stats and updates, so you can take it all in, then take control. Download the new and improved William Hill app now, with a 5-star rating from The Sun. When the fun stops, stop.
If you've recently noticed that you're starting to lose your hair, there are a range of options open to you. You could have a hair transplant, as long as you're earning as much as a Premier League footballer. For the more thrifty amongst us, there's always the classic comb-over. Or if you really want to make a statement, why not go all out and get yourself a poodle perm wig? However, if you want to do something effective, you're going to need facts, not fiction. Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam contains minoxidil, which has been scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss, working deep down at the root. It can be used on a receding hairline, and the earlier you start using it, the higher your chances of success. You could even start seeing visible results in 16 weeks. And now Regain has an app that gives you support and advice to track your progress and maintain your twice-daily routine. Separate the facts from the fiction at regain.co.uk. Regain contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
Colin Murray.
Are we kicking off already?
Yeah, straight in, mate.
This morning from 10.
What we talk about in Talk Sport seems a hell of a lot more important.
Talk Sport.
I can see that, yeah.
I think it's it is the last great barrier that Homo sapiens man has got to get past to understand the workings of the brain and the lifestyles of animals.
Yeah, well,
and we've got to get there. We've got to get there.
Doesn't disagree. He says, Porky, if birds can talk, then keep an eye on those pigeons. They are trying to overthrow the government. I heard overheard them saying as I was passing the other day.
Yeah, look, I don't mind having a laugh and all that, but it's a very serious subject. If we could understand how animals communicate with each other and what they're saying, that would be a major breakthrough in the way that we live our lives.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. And also, it might be a massive disappointment.
No,
Rob says, Porky's talking nonsense about these birds. Get Bill Oddie on the show. One of these journals he reads. # complete tosh.
That's not true at all. I study these things because I'm so interested in it. And, you know, if the rest of us all went and read journals of natural science and that sort of stuff, you know, the sort of stuff you see in the Natural Science Museum, we'd all be better off, believe me.
I see. Now, what do you make about this one then, right? You know, the Russians in the past have used dolphins in military activities.
Yes, I know about that.
Well, apparently they're now going to start doing it again.
The Americans do it as well, you know.
Well, the Americans use sea lions.
Yeah.
They don't use dolphins, as far as we know.
OK.
Russia's looking for 5 combat dolphins.
Yes.
Now, where do you find a combat dolphin?
Well, what you do is you go out into areas where you see dolphins, and, for instance, you can literally, you know, off Wales in, like, Pembrokeshire and all that, Cardigan Bay and all that kind of stuff, you see pods of dolphins, schools of dolphins there all the time.
In Cardigan Bay?
Yeah, in Cardigan Bay.
It's not warm enough water, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Are you sure?
Is. Oh, definitely.
Well, have you seen dolphins in Cardigan Bay?
No, I haven't, but I've seen dolphins off Cornwall, right?
Yeah,
seen
maybe.
Dolphins off Cornwall.
In the Labrador Current.
In the Labrador Current, perhaps, around Mount St Michael and all that, you know what I mean? Down at Land's End.
I've never seen any dolphins down there.
I have.
Really?
Yes, I have, yeah, definitely. And
I saw dolphins when I was sailing in the Caribbean. They came in and played around by the yacht I was on.
I saw them in Australia when...
Well, you would.
Alongside a boat we were in. They kept with us for 3 or 4 miles.
Yeah.
It was magical watching them leaping out of the water and back in again, yeah.
Now, it says here, officials are seeking 2 female and 3 male dolphins between the ages of 3 and 5. I mean, it sounds like they put an advert in Dolphin Weekly or something.
Well, it does a bit, but what
they're supposed to have perfect teeth and no physical problems.
Yeah, what they'll do is they will just scoop them up in nets out of the sea.
Well, how do they know they've got perfect teeth?
Well, they'll examine them when they put them on board. What they do is, these boats the Russians have, they have huge aquariums on board, and they scoop these dolphins up with huge
How do you know
nets.
so much about these boats?
I know about it. I've researched it.
Have you?
And they you know, like it's a trajectory arm. The net falls, they scoop the dolphins up, the net swings back over the deck of the boat, they drop the dolphins into... It's almost like an oil tanker full of water, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And they drop them in, and then they're examined by marine biologists.
It's a bit cruel to enslave them in this way.
No, I don't think it's cruel at all. Most animals like the challenge of being asked to complete some sort of a task.
Yeah, well,
and they're treated well.
The task that they're supposed to be completing involves finding submarines, right?
Yes.
Some dolphins have been trained to plant explosives on enemy ships.
That's right.
Well, that's not a task.
Of course it is.
That's something that can endanger their lives.
No,
You're supposed to be an animal lover.
Well, I'm sorry, but in order to fight a war, sometimes life has to be put at risk. And if you don't think that the Royal Marines...
They're not choosing to do it, though.
The Royal Marines and members of the SAS don't realise that sometimes they have to put their life on the line to...
but they are capable of making that choice.
Yes, I know they are.
If these dolphins are being captured by the Russians...
Yes.
They're not being able to make that choice, are they?
All I could say is that there can't be democracy amongst dolphin populations because we can't communicate with them to that extent.
I see.
We have to use them for the benefit of man. Now, the way that they plant explosives, by the way, is that what happens is they can strap a limpet mine around the dolphin, OK?
Yeah.
And the dolphin can be trained to go below a ship and then put its back to the hull of the ship. You see what I mean? At which point... the magnetic force of the limpet mine transfers from the belt that the dolphin's wearing to the hull of the ship.
So the dolphin's wearing a belt?
Yeah, it wears a belt which carries the limpet mine on.
Well, that doesn't feel fair. I don't think, as an animal lover, that you could possibly defend that. Well, why would you strap a bomb to a dolphin?
So the dolphin can plant it onto the ship.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous.
But the dolphin doesn't get blown up.
Well, I bet it does. I bet sometimes it goes wrong.
No, it doesn't.
I bet it does.
No, well, OK, sometimes it might, but then soldiers get killed, unfortunately, in training.
Yeah, but they've made the choice to be in that situation.
The dolphin is a noble creature.
You're such a hypride when it comes to these things.
No, the dolphin
just because it's about the Russians, you want to defend them again.
No, the dolphin is a noble creature which will indeed have some pride in being listed by the Homo sapien race to take part in the...
well, they might be peaceful dolphins. They might not want to get involved in war.
I'm sure they are, but you have to remember that pacifism, Mike, is responsible for more wars than aggression.
Oh, is that right?
And we have to be very, very careful about pursuing pacifist... pacifism really is all about, evil prospers where good men do nothing. You know what I mean?
No, it's not, actually. That's not what pacifism is about.
No, it is. That's
I'll
what
tell you where they want
these... Pacifism means you can smash me in the face and knock me to the ground and I won't hit you back.
Yeah.
That is the worst form of
But if everybody
aggression.
is a pacifist, then nobody punches anyone.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the world isn't full of pacifists. The world is full of aggressors.
Yeah,
and so
people like you, in other words.
No, if you're a pacifist, you're a cop-out merchant.
I don't think so.
And you're trying to ask somebody else within your society, within your community, to take responsibility for stopping the bad people because you don't have the courage and the gumption and the will to do it yourself.
Do you know where Sevastopol is?
Yes, I do.
Where?
It's in the Crimea.
Yeah, that's where they're going to have these dolphins
exactly,
based.
Yeah. Well, that's where the Russian...
Presumably that's why the Russians want to keep the Crimea, then?
Well, it's one reason, because the Russian Black Sea Navy is based in Sevastopol. That's where they are. And that is, as you know, that's why Istanbul has always been such a huge... intriguing network of spying east and west, because you have to pass through those straits, the Bosphorus, to get to Sevastopol.
I just find it staggering that you want to free somebody like Tommy the Chimp, but you're quite happy for dolphins to have bombs strapped to them.
Well, remember, there are literally millions of dolphins in the world, OK? So it's not like they're an endangered species. Yeah, there are.
Of course they're endangered.
No, they're not. They're not.
Why do you think the Japanese were told to stop fishing them out of the water when they were casting their sea nets all over the place?
Because they would have become endangered, but they're not an endangered species anymore, believe me. No, they're not. There's millions of them. And if we can use one or two dolphins because of their superior intelligence as an animal to try and help Homo sapiens make the world a better place, which is what we're seeking, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Well, if they're that intelligent, why don't they take the bombs and bring them back to the people that have enslaved them and blow them up?
Well, you know that's a ridiculous question.
Well, why is it a ridiculous question?
It's a ridiculous question because the mission they've been set is transported.
Yeah, but they don't want to necessarily carry out a mission. That's what my point is.
They don't know they're carrying out a mission.
Dolphins are very, very happy-go-lucky creatures. No. They like interaction with humans, but they don't necessarily want to blow them up.
They know only that they're completing a task. They don't actually know what that task is.
Gary the Villa
don't actually know what the purpose of the task is. Seriously,
I'm telling you. The purpose of the task is, as you say, to be part of the military complex, which is not what I think the Dolphins are meant for.
Well, there you go.
Gary, who's a Villa fan, says, Porky, I usually support you, but no, using animals for warfare is obscene. Yeah. Totally agree with old MG on this one.
Yeah, well, you're just jumping on a bandwagon. Talking about animals, by the way, I saw an amazing piece on the news earlier on today, on the TV news. Some guy who's a taxidermist, I must say I don't agree with taxidermism, stuffing dead animals.
Taxidermy?
Yeah,
Well, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
I can't get into it at all.
There was a load of them stolen, wasn't there?
Well, I was about to say to you, they stole them, but one of the items stolen was a 10-foot tall giraffe, which is quite short for a giraffe, but nevertheless it's a 10-foot giraffe. And as the guy who owned it said, I don't know why anybody would steal this. He said
so how would you steal it?
Well, exactly. He said the very act of transporting it around is going to make it fairly obvious.
The giraffe's head would be sticking out of
the back of a lorry or something like that,
Well, I suppose you have a big enough lorry, you can put it sideways.
And but who would steal them anyway on the basis that, there aren't very many stuff that...
Well, they say it's worth £100,000.
Yeah, but they're not worth £100,000 if the warning's already gone out. Listen, there is a load of stuffed giraffes, zebras, monkeys... Zebras, yeah, and all sorts of things. The point is...
So you're against taxidermy?
Oh, totally against it. It's horrible.
Why is it horrible?
What,
You don't mind dolphins being blown to smithereens underneath a military vessel?
To take the dead body of an animal and then make it look like it's alive again by stuffing it full of... What are they stuffing it full of?
Well, first of all, they have to sort of, they almost embalm the thing, don't they?
It's dreadful.
They take all the guts out.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of stuff it with a variety
horsehair.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, the sort of stuff that you used to put into cushions and all that. I have to say, it's disgusting.
Horsehair cushions?
Yeah, horsehair cushions.
Is that what you had?
Well, that's what everybody had in the
I didn't have any horsehair
cushions. 50s. Yes, they did.
Well, I didn't live in the 50s.
Yeah, well, I was born in the 50s, and I think you were. Were you born at the end of the 50s? No, okay. And I was born at the end of the 50s. And,
the end of the 50s?
Yeah, and they had leather cushions, and the leather cushions...
cushions stuffed with horsehair?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
You're not talking about some kind of dungeon you visited?
No. That was standard. That was standard furniture. All the couches were made of leather and stuffed with horsehair.
Leather?
Yes.
Nobody had a leather couch in the 50s. Rubbish.
They did.
Absolute
That was the only sort of couch you could get in the 50s.
Rubbish.
It was only in the 60s and then the 70s that synthetic plastic couches were made, yeah.
So you actually did have a very privileged upbringing.
No, I didn't.
You had leather couches.
No, I didn't have a privilege.
Shocking.
Oh,
anyway,
brilliant.
coming up, we're going to talk to Geoffrey Wise.
Indeed.
Who's the author of The Plane That Wasn't There.
Yeah.
Why we haven't found MH370. Should be very interesting, this.
Indeed.
This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
Tonight from 6, Europa League football, live on Talk Sport.
Brilliant goal!
Join Mark Saggers for full match commentary of Borussia Dortmund versus Spurs.
Flicked on again, and it's in! Spurs have the lead!
Followed by extended updates of Liverpool's clash with Manchester United.
He does it in towards Fellaini with a header. He's hit the crossbar, comes back to Rooney! That could be the winner.
With a post-match phone-in on the sports bar from 10.
They are completely in control of this game.
Europa League football, live on Talk Sport.
Smarter than he, and we know Flipper lives in a world full of wonder.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out. Porky Vision coming up in a little while as well. We got loads and loads of tweets coming out a little bit later on as well. You can find us at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry 8, and at IROMG. Right now, though, we're going to talk to a man who's written a very interesting treatise, a book on the subject of the missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. Geoffrey Wise, author of The Plane That Wasn't There, Why We Haven't Found MH370. Geoffrey, very good morning to you.
Hey, good morning to you guys.
Thanks very much for joining us. This week it's the sort of 2-year mark where the plane disappeared in what was a very mysterious set of circumstances. And it's astonishing in a way, I suppose, I say that anyway, that no trace of it has yet been found.
Well, that's right. I mean, they've spent £100 million looking on the subsea area where the signals that they had received between the plane and the satellite indicated that the plane must have gone, and they've spent over a year now, all this heaps of money, and there's nothing there on the seabed. They found this one piece of MH370 that floated about 2,000 miles away, and that turned up on a beach in Reunion Island, and that's it. And the French have it, so it's not really clear what can be determined from this piece because they haven't looked at the marine life or told anyone what they found. So it's all a huge mystery 2 years later.
If it was an accident, Geoffrey, could it have disappeared like that, or would it have to take the deep knowledge of an experienced pilot and the warped thinking that must have been employed to make that plane disappear forever?
Well, that's a great question. And so the area that they've been looking is where the plane would have gone if it had turned around and flown this kind of complicated path and then turned and flown south without any kind of human intervention, just flying on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and spiraled into the ocean.
Yeah.
That's where it would have gone. The fact that it isn't there implies that it didn't fly like that.
Yeah.
And so somebody must have been at the controls actively flying this plane right up until the end. And so although the accident scenario is very appealing to people, it doesn't actually fit the data that we've got.
So are you more likely to believe that it was commandeered in some way, either by the crew themselves or by somebody who had come onto the plane? I mean, I read one theory involves somebody tampering with the actual navigational system so that it was being tracked as if it was going in one place, but actually it was going somewhere else.
That's basically the theory that I put forward in this Kindle single that you mentioned. The idea that if the plane didn't go south, because the signals very unambiguously tell us that it went south. If it didn't go south, the only way that we could have received those signals is if somebody had spoofed them, had falsified them, had tampered with the equipment to make it look like it could happen. And it turns out that if you delve into the engineering of how the satellite communication system was put together, it is technically feasible. And some people find it very hard to believe that anybody would have had the sophistication or gone to the trouble of doing such a thing.
Yeah.
But at this point, since all the reasonable hypotheses have pretty much been ruled out, we're left with the kind of dog ends. And we know that whatever happened had to have been pretty weird and a pretty strange tale.
Yeah. I mean, what is the most plausible answer for there being no communication with the plane before it disappeared? No mayday, obviously no black box recordings because nothing's been found, but no indication of, foreboding, no indication of trouble coming. That must have been, we assume, a human decision not to communicate. And how does that tie up with the growing popular theory of a fire in the cockpit?
Yeah, the fire in the cockpit just doesn't really make any sense for so many reasons. It doesn't fit with any of the kinds of, with the radar data, with the Inmarsat data. I mean, so the plane plane takes off from Kuala Lumpur. It's headed for Beijing. 40 minutes on, it's at its cruise altitude. It's about to leave Malaysian airspace, and it's about to go from one controller to the next. And so the pilot calls up and says, and has a little exchange and says, "Good night, Malaysia MH370," a very famous exchange. 1 minute later, just 6 seconds after the plane passes over the last waypoint in Malaysia, everything goes dark. Everything gets turned off, and the plane, once it's dark, it immediately takes a 180 at high speed and comes and flies, not in a straight line like you'd expect if the pilots have been incapacitated by a fire, but in this kind of zigzag pattern.
Yeah.
And so that is just not compatible with an accident. And it's some people say, oh, well, they turned around because they wanted to come back and try to land because there was a fire. They didn't land. I mean, they continued at high speed, at high altitude, did not issue a distress call, did not try to land, did not descend. And there have been many, many cases where planes do catch fire, where pilots do get incapacitated by smoke. It doesn't look like this.
Yeah. So what was the original reason? I mean, just to read the one of the reasons you believe this theory is that you received some kind of email about it. What was the original plan then for whoever took the plane? What did they want to do with it?
Right. Well, I just to kind of correct your language a little bit, I don't believe my hypothesis. It's just I'm trying to make sense of the data that we have, and I say that there's basically, at this point, there's only two possibilities that fit with the data that we have. One is the pilot wanted to commit suicide and wanted to do it in a very complicated way so that the plane would never get found. And then the other one is that, like I said, somebody tampered with the data in such a way that they could get away with it. And if that was their mission, they succeeded really well, because pretty much I'm the only one who's pointed out that this
But to get away with what, though? I mean, did they want to commandeer the craft and the aircraft and land it somewhere, or just crash it, or what?
Well, so basically by looking at the data consists of two parts, one of which would be easy to fake and which would say that it went south. The other part, which it would be much harder to fake and is kind of ambiguous as to whether it went north or south. I would say that probably the one that said it went south was faked. The other one, Inmarsat had only just a few months before started recording that data, and they hadn't told anybody that they were recording it. So I think whoever did this, if they did carry out this spoof, didn't know that these values were being recorded, and so didn't bother to fake them.
Yeah.
Those values tell you that the plane went north to Kazakhstan. That's just, I mean, and why would someone want to take it to Kazakhstan? I don't know, but that's just what the data tells you. Now, of course, Kazakhstan is close to Russia. Russia has a very sophisticated aviation industry. They've got a sophisticated satellite communications industry. So they would have the savvy to know how to do this. The other interesting thing in terms of the context in which this took place is that this happened the week after Crimea was annexed. It wound up serving as a pretty powerful distraction from what was happening in Crimea. Sorry.
Jeffrey, can I just ask you, those are the theories in the air. What I'm fascinated about is this one piece of wreckage that's turned up, which is now in the possession of the French, right? Now, is this going to turn out to be a piece of wreckage that's never going to be released to the general public again, because there's something about that piece of wreckage which is so horrifyingly, evil that we don't know about it? And the supplementary question that is, if one piece of wreckage turned up, where's all the rest of the wreckage? Because when an aeroplane smashes itself to pieces, how come only one little piece of what's left of that plane manages to wash up? Where's all the rest of it?
Well, right, and I think the question is, really, is this suspicious? I mean, is this what we would expect to see? And some people have said, well, it's even weirder to find one piece than to find zero pieces.
Yeah.
Because, if it's so remote that you're not going to find anything, you wouldn't find anything. But why one piece?
Exactly.
And this really gets back to your question about the French. Why are they holding on to it? Does it tell us something, or would it tell us something if we were able to look at it that would be awkward or uncomfortable?
I mean, for instance, here's a really, really weird one. The Americans for years are supposed to have kept secrets about UFOs. Supposing the French think that piece of wreckage shows the plane was downed by a UFO.
Well, let me run a simpler one by you, which is that, so I spent a lot of time looking at photographs that were taken of this flaperon. The piece is called a flaperon, on Reunion Island on the beach where it was put after it was found. And I've done a kind of quick and dirty image analysis comparing the flaperon to other objects that are nearby that are of a known dimension. And the the barnacles that were growing on it are about 2.3 centimeters long.
Yeah.
And now these are an animal that have no economic value. Very few academics study them. There's about 6 or 7 people around the whole world who actually look at these creatures. And I've talked to all of them. None of them have been approached by the French to try to learn what we could find out about the piece based on these things growing on it. And a 2.3-inch long lepus barnacle is about 4 to 6 months old, generally.
That's incredible. That's amazing, that. Yeah.
This piece is supposed to have been in the water for 15 months. How come its barnacles are only 4 to 6 months old?
Yeah. No, that is fascinating. It really is. Yeah.
Jeffrey, I think we may have to talk to you again, because obviously this is a massive area, so we thank you very much indeed. Jeffrey Wise there, science journalist and author of The Plane That Wasn't There, Why We Haven't Found MH370. We'll find out where we can get hold of that, but we will tweet out a Twitter address for Jeffrey as well. Fascinating stuff. You and I will have to talk some more about this.
Definitely.
This is Talk Sport.
Peggy 18. When our city started to collapse, the dark side of humanity took control of the streets.
The most realistic and terrifying version of the apocalypse, trusted reviews.
Our mission is to save what remains.
The Daily Star said the Division is big, bold, and beautiful.
We are the Division.
Tom Clancy's The Division. Out now on Xbox One. Get new content first on Xbox.
Sergeant, why have you brought the chaps to a Fiat professional dealership?
You said quick March, sir.
Yes.
There's an offer on Fiat Doblo and Fiorino vans in March.
And quick?
Only 31 days in March, sir. Clock's ticking.
Sergeant, I really don't think we can...
3 years warranty and 3 years roadside assistance.
Yes, that is rather good.
3 years servicing for just £99 and a £300 prepaid card for fuel too.
Don't bother walking back. You grab a Doblo. I'll take a Fiorino.
Quick March to your local Fiat professional dealership now. Mileage limitations apply. For full T&Cs, visit fiatprofessional.co.uk.
The highlight of the British Jump racing season is under starters' orders. And if you fancy a bet on the Cheltenham Festival, you're in luck. Get closer to the action this weekend with Betway's Man with the Inside Track, covering every race at Cheltenham, as Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn bring you a special weekend sports breakfast Cheltenham Festival preview. This Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport with Betway. Bring every race to life at betway.com. Bet the responsible way.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
It's in the fancy footwork.
There is no opposition.
You know, love is wanting to be loved.
Yeah.
Love is only, love is this, love is that. And the piano is the main instrument, isn't it? I think John Lennon's strumming an acoustic guitar. But I tell you one thing, which Liverpool fans should be grateful for, Jerry and the Pacemakers, who were only really big for a couple of years in the 60s, you know, and they weren't the talent of the Beatles. It was Jerry Marsden. Oh, he's been a great act ever since. I mean, they've never been short of work. But they only had about 3 or 4 hits. But one of them, of course...
But they were all done with George Martin,
They were all done with George Martin. Yeah. So anyway, they walk into the same studios where the Beatles had worked, you know, and they bring this song in, and George Martin had a listen to it, and then he said, look, chaps, he said, I understand that... He said, I'm quite partial to classical music. He said, I've got a song I'd like you to try from Carousel, which is, you know, one of the classic musicals. And they said, yeah, what is it then? He said, it's called You'll Never Walk Alone. Yeah. And they tried it, and of course it has become the theme music of Liverpool Football Club ever since. Right. So every Liverpool fan in the world, you've got George Martin to thank for your iconic anthem, which was rung out
and Celtic too. It's their anthem
and
well.
Celtic too. That's right, which is rung out, you know, in football stadiums around the world.
Yeah, and also the one that he did, which I suppose people might remember who are slightly younger, is the second version of "Candle in the Wind" that was released when Peter Steiner died. Yeah, and the thing about it was, as far as I recall, because I was working at the Express at that time. And it was the most sort of incredible kind of, you know, busy time.
Oh, of course,
but Elton John performed it in Westminster Abbey.
That's right.
And I believe he went straight from there to Air Studios in North London, which is up by Belsize Park.
That's right.
In an old church. And recorded it.
That's right.
In one hit.
And it's fastest selling single of all time.
Well, the biggest selling single of all time. 37 million copies or something like that. I actually had a copy of it.
Did you?
But I don't know what's happened to it. I think it may have been lost in the mire of the divorce.
Sorry, was that on a record or on a CD?
It was a CD.
CD,
the CD single.
CD single. And it was rewritten, wasn't it, in about 36 hours by Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
Because it was never going to be re-released. It was only ever released in that one moment.
That's
and he's vowed never to ever play it again.
Yeah. Amazing.
So it's fascinating stuff. Now, I've got lots of people really, really giving you a hard time for being so anti-animal, despite the fact that
I'm not anti-animal.
Well, you are.
No, I'm not.
You are.
No.
Here's one from Irish one who says, I'm just picturing animal rights outside TalkSport Towers now.
Yeah.
Hackman says, MG should get a medal having to work with Porky.
Mm-hmm.
Rob says, when Mrs. Mop expires, I bet Porky will have her stuffed and placed in the corner of the room with a duster in her hand.
I don't think so. There's one here from Danny. He says, I know it was a joke at first, but I'm honestly now starting to believe that Porky might actually be a Russian spy.
Well, I don't
Porksky Planksky.
I don't think you're wrong about that. Now, what about this picture here from a 1950 a three-piece set? There's what apparently would be what you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it's got a leather sort of leather settee.
That's right.
But with sort of fabric
sort
cushions.
of material cushions. But they would be stuffed with horsehair. I bet they'd be stuffed with horsehair.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's probably foam by that time. Right, I got one here from William. He says, does TalkSport have an accredited science correspondent? If not, Porky would fit the post perfectly.
Yeah.
See, this is a tribute to the fact that I do read my scientific, medical, natural science journals, and I'm able then to redistribute that knowledge to our millions of listeners.
Really?
Yeah?
Well, Lord Rallo isn't convinced. He says Porky is a special type of insane tonight.
What?
Stuffing dead animals is an outrage.
Yeah.
But strapping bombs to live dolphins is brilliant.
Well, I'm
That's
sorry,
what you're saying.
but it was a purpose for one and not a purpose for the other. It's as simple as that, OK?
Yeah, right.
Don't worry about it, right?
Absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Here's one from, where are we? Neil. He says, fascinating guest on the Two Mics, chaps. I know when they're dull, you usher them off, but if they're good, why not keep them on? Well, because we have a very tight schedule, which we have to keep. We have to stick to.
I tell you what, though, that last guest of ours, he actually made the most salient point that he brought to the discussion in the last few seconds
about the barnacles.
I've just pointed out to our listeners. So this piece of wing is found on a beach.
Yeah.
He's examined the barnacles from photographic evidence and found that they're 2.5 inches long.
Yeah.
But if the piece of wreckage was in the water as long as it should have been since the plane went down, the barnacles should have been 7 inches long.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Jacob, though, has sussed you out on this one.
Oh, yeah.
He says, of course, Mike Parry would rather blame poor aliens for the plane crash than admit that it was Russia.
Well, the only people I think it could have been is North Korea, because the other question I would have asked him if we'd had time was, could it possibly have landed anywhere? And if it was anywhere, was it North Korea?
Yeah, indeed. Well, we'll talk some more about that. Coming up, of course, in the next hour, it's Porky Vision. This is TalkSport.
On digital
monitors here, and we're just saying to each other,
Sky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're just saying to each other, really, I suppose, at our age, that just imagine having been part of that. Just imagine sitting in that studio number 2 at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And or being in the control room, and then the boys, as he always called them, and Brian Epstein always called them, went through a track or something, and then they'd finish, and you'd go in and say, look, it's great, fellas, but why don't we try it again? And why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Oh, OK, yeah, let's do it. And, I mean, just imagine being part of the...
Well, because, as I was saying, it was at a time when, no one was really sure what was going to happen next. And if
what do you mean by that?
Well, if you were somebody in your 20s in the 60s,
yes,
there was all this stuff going on around you.
Found the bomb and all that.
Yeah, but your parents were telling you to, to just get a job like everybody else and be, happy with your lot. And these guys were proving that didn't have to be the case. You could do whatever you wanted, actually.
Yeah, but that's okay if you've got the genius of songwriting ability that Lennon McCartney had.
But we're talking about being in that room.
Yeah,
sure. About being in that room, where the world was literally their oyster.
Yeah, that's right.
But even they weren't prepared for it, really.
But they changed the world. They massively changed the world.
Well, they and a whole bunch of other people.
They led the way.
I don't think so. I think you're skewed about that.
I'm not.
I mean, they didn't lead the way.
Who came before them in this country?
Well, it's not about who came before them. It's
Cliff
about,
Richard? Don't think so.
Well, no, it's about
Matt Munro?
No, but
don't think so.
It's about the general zeitgeist that was going on around them, and I think they certainly contributed to it. But I don't think they changed the world as such. Yeah. Here's one from Richard in Swindon who says, George Martin produced rock band UFO and all of America's albums, Horse with No Name and all that.
Did he?
Genius.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He says.
Complete genius.
Now, you'll like this one. This is from Martha. I don't know if that's the right name.
Martha, my dear.
Not Martha, no, Martha. Hi, the Two Max. I used to live in Aberystwyth, which is in Cardigan Bay. Dolphins and porpoises were a common sight.
Thank you.
He says.
Thank
and
you.
He's a depressed Chelsea fan, just got back from the match.
Thank you. So you believe me now, do you?
I didn't disbelieve you.
So, yes, you did. You said you've never seen them. So you never believe anything I say. And then when a listener who you don't know...
There's a good reason why I don't believe most of the things you say, because most of the things you say are a load of old cobblers.
No, you see, that's your way out of it all the time.
I'll tell you what I did believe. In Cornwall, yes, because there are lots of sharks spotted, and because you have spent quite a bit of time in Cornwall.
Yes.
You told me the last time you were joyous was when you were on a holiday with your two sisters.
That's right,
in Cornwall.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact you haven't been to Cardigan Bay for decades.
Well, it doesn't matter. I've been there, OK?
But I don't... And you say you haven't seen any dolphins, but you've just heard that you've seen them.
Cardigan Bay?
No, Cardiff is on the south side of Wales.
Yes.
Right.
Which is
Aberystwyth is on the west side.
Oh, I've been to Aberystwyth.
Well, Aberystwyth is where Cardigan Bay is.
Yeah, OK, well, I know all about that. Abersock?
What?
That's Cardigan Bay, isn't it?
Abersock.
Yeah, Abersock is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We're going to Cardiff on May the 7th.
We're going to Cardiff on May the 7th, yeah. We're going to, what's it called? The Tram Shed.
The Tram Shed, yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
World Traveller says, Alfie, the piano was played by Burt Bacharach. It's a famous recording session. It took 30 takes, as apparently Bacharach was a perfectionist.
Who's that?
World Traveller is his Twitter name.
No. Did George Martin produce it?
George Martin produced it,
yes. But Burt Bacharach wrote it.
We asked if he played the piano on it.
Oh, I see.
And Burt Bacharach played the piano.
Oh, did he? Right, oh, OK.
How much memory have you used up?
No,
have you used up all your memory? You're like a phone with no memory left.
But it is a spectacular occasion talking about the life of Sir George Martin. It really is.
David says, I noticed when your guest mentioned about landing in Russia, Porky barged in with a story about American aliens.
What?
Very suspicious. It is very suspicious.
No, it's not suspicious
Comrade
at all.
Porky.
It's not at all. I just have, a very wide range of thinking, put it that way, OK?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Now, listen, I'll tell you what I'll talk to you about next in the next hour.
You better be quick.
It's going to be about the fact that we no longer have a Samaritan instinct in this country.
OK, we'll talk about that very shortly. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Adam says You'll Never Walk Alone is also sung by Borussia Dortmund before games. I didn't know that either. They're playing Spurs tonight, of course, in the Europa League. And then there's that magnificent fixture, Manchester United at Liverpool in the Europa League. Do you know they've never met each other in Europe before?
That doesn't overly surprise me, to be honest. Well, no, I suppose they could have been drawn against each other in the Champions League in the past. Yeah, I suppose
you would have thought so, but it hasn't happened. So that's why it's a massive game. And I was watching Roy Keane a little bit earlier on. He's got a beard back, by the way.
Right, OK.
The full Roy Keane is back. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a great, fantastic occasion for all Liverpool and Manchester United fans.
I don't. I think
the great rivalry.
No, I think it's massively overrated.
Why?
Massively overrated.
Why is that?
Because it's the second-rate European competition. If those two clubs, Liverpool have won the trophy 5 times, Manchester United 3 times.
Yeah, we'll get used to it being the competition that more English Premier League clubs are going to actually be surviving in. Because the Champions League is more or less over for the Premier League,
They think it's a huge occasion. I think they're fooling themselves.
You're not listening to anything I'm saying.
Yes, I am, but I think they're deluded. I am.
I don't think you are. You've got this way of just pausing to let me say 3 words and then just carrying on regardless.
No, not at all.
Yeah, you have.
Not
it's
at
a
all.
shocking way to behave.
Not at all.
Manchester City will probably get through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Arsenal will probably go out.
Yes.
So there'll be 1 team out of 8.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you might as well get used to there being 3 teams, very possibly, or certainly 2 teams, I should say, in the last 8 of the Europa League.
I'm just not interested in that competition. I won't be watching any of those games.
You're just not interested in it because Everton aren't in it.
Listen, a couple of things. First of all, one of the newspapers that will drop on the doormats of most of our millions of listeners tomorrow morning says Rafa has already been offered the Newcastle job.
Yeah.
Rafa Benitez has been offered the Newcastle job to the end of the season. Another one says that Eden Hazard is now in really bad trouble with the fans.
Because of the shirt swapping episode.
Yeah, branded a snake and a fraud by his own fans because he's been linked with a move to Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
And he swapped shirts with PSG's Angel Di Maria at half-time.
Angel? Oh, actually, I've got to pick you up on something.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to your odious paper review on the Sports Breakfast.
What do you mean, odious?
Well, because you behave like a completely different animal than when you're with me. Well, for example, when Alan Brazil started having a go at Maria Sharapova, did you attack him? No. When I started having a go at Maria Sharapova, you attacked me.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't remember Al having a go at Maria Sharapova.
Well, he did, because I saw it on Twitter.
And what did he say?
Well, he basically said that she was a drugs cheat.
Yeah, OK. Well,
and you just went along like a meek little lamb.
No, I did not.
And you also referred to the manager of Paris Saint-Germain as Laurent Blanc.
Yes.
Rhymes with plank.
Yeah, Blanc.
And they had a go at you for that. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah. So
you said, I was just reading it. You know, when you read it like that, it just comes out.
And so what were you going to pick me up on?
Well, I was going to pick you up on Blanc and the fact that you did not in any way challenge his view on Maria Sharapova.
But I corrected myself as Blanc. And by the way, how can you argue that she has cheated on drugs when
don't argue with me, argue with him.
That's what the tests show.
Argue with him.
What I'm saying is that you have to look at the circumstances behind it all.
No, I'm not asking you. And I'm not asking you to argue with me.
And I'm
asking you to argue with him when he has the same view that I have.
I'm pretty consistent on that. No,
I don't think so.
I couldn't. By the way, the PSG situation, right, is so ridiculous. So they've got through now to the last. What is it? The last 8?
It's the quarterfinals, yeah.
Last 8, right, OK.
And so far we've got what? We've got PSG, we've got Real Madrid, we've got Benfica, who beat your man Andre Villas-Boas last night.
Very bad defeat.
He was very unhappy because he was so happy when he scored the first goal. We've also got Wolfsburg through, right?
Might have to leave Russia now because we've been beaten.
And Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So I think we've got 6 through now.
What I'm saying is this manufacture of a great European club in France is going to backfire on somebody. They're nearly 30 points ahead now in their own domestic league.
But why is it going to backfire?
Because they're the only club in France.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is they're getting better in the Champions League, which is what they want to do.
But they're not. France is not really a football country.
Well, you say that, but I mean, we supposedly have the most competitive league in the world, right? But Paris Saint-Germain made Chelsea look very average last night.
I agree.
You know,
that's because all the resources in France are put into one club. That's Paris Saint-Germain. No, they are.
I mean, for a while Monaco was in the race, but
not anymore. Marseille were in a bit, Monaco a bit. It's all now Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
So 30 points
my point is that doesn't see. I mean, people would normally say that means they haven't really got much competition in France.
They haven't got any.
So why are they actually as good as people say they are?
They've just been.
Fact remains, they are as good.
They've just been bred as a European super team, and that is very worrying. That the money can come from the Middle East, from Qatar, and just breed this European super team in France. I think it's very worrying, and it will destabilise European football. Have you seen the crowds of attendances in games in France?
No,
a few thousand a week.
Yeah,
literally. It doesn't work at all. Even Monaco, when they were like
because I mean
European champions and all this, we're getting like 3,000.
Monaco's a very small place, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not right. Now,
I'm not even sure you could fill a stadium with the people that live in Monaco.
No, you couldn't. No, probably not. I've been there actually. It's on the roof of a multi-story. It's on the roof of a multi-story car park.
The stadium's on the roof of a multi-story. Do you not mean there's a multi-story car park underneath the stadium?
No, I mean the pitch is on the roof of a multi-story car park.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I'll have to look this up now.
It's weird. Now then, let me tell you, we have become a nation of non-Good Samaritans. We don't stop anymore for people who are in trouble.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, you don't, do you?
No.
Remember your story about the old guy who needed some help with his bus tyre?
Well, that wasn't my fault.
And you said that you couldn't help him, and you roped some other poor guy into doing it.
I was in a hurry.
So you are the man that's actually the epitome of this story.
Yeah, a YouGov survey found that only 55% of people would approach an elderly woman if she was crying in the street, while 37% would lend their mobile phone to an elderly man to make an urgent call, but 63% would tell him to get lost.
Oh, yeah.
How about that?
Well, I'm not included in that
terrible.
Because I was on a train once.
Oh, yeah.
When I used to take the train backwards and forwards to Sussex.
Yes.
And a young woman got on the train, and she'd lost her phone.
Right.
And she was sort of quite frantic. And
this was an attractive young woman, I take it.
She wasn't unattractive.
Yeah, so you're going to make out you're a good Samaritan.
No.
In fact, you had an eye on a Rogerisation possibility,
no,
didn't you?
Not,
yes,
no.
you did.
She said to me, "Would you mind? Could I please borrow your phone?
Yeah,
because I need to ring somebody to report my phone being stolen, and also to tell the person that I'm going to see later that I'm going to be running late." Blah, blah, blah. So I was quite happy to do that.
Yeah.
And
so you think that's Good Samaritan?
Yeah, I was a Good Samaritan.
And did you keep in touch with this person?
I think she texted me at one point to say thank you when she received another, but I never pursued it.
Yeah,
I didn't pursue it. I was very helpful to her.
I tell you what is interesting here. It says only 1 in 5 of those surveyed said that they surveyed. Yeah.
You mean surveyed?
Surveyed. That's right. Yeah.
That they did a survey in the co-op.
Said that they would confront a group of teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Harassing a homeless man.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't get involved in a group of teenagers harassing a homeless man.
Not?
Well, if some smelly old bum on the street is getting a hard time
you are the epitome of this story.
What do you mean?
Well, because you are not a Good Samaritan.
Why?
Because you just told me.
No.
First of all, we have evidence that you didn't help the guy who needed his tyre changed.
Yes.
And we also now have evidence that you've just admitted you would not help a homeless man who was being harassed.
Well, I mean, the point is you can't get involved in that sort of thing. The teenagers will probably turn on you then.
Yeah, well, then.
And how do you know they're not armed and all that kind of stuff?
Well, sometimes you have to put your timid and sort of frightened, facade to one side, and you have to help somebody who's in a bad situation.
Guess who commissioned this survey?
YouGov.
No. The Bible Society asked YouGov to do it for them. Yeah, the study was commissioned by the Bible Society.
A member of that?
No, I'm not. No, to promote the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
But the conclusions are that only 1 in 5 people could recall a time when they needed help, but no one stopped to assist them.
Yeah.
1 in 5 people could recall. So 1 in 5 people who've asked for help from people in the street have been told to get lost. But mostly speaking, in this country, we do turn the blind eye, don't we? We don't help other people.
Well, I don't turn a blind eye.
When did you last help somebody, apart from this attractive young woman you were trying to
I do it all the time.
have carnal knowledge of?
I do it all the time. If I see, say, a woman struggling with a pushchair trying to get down the stairs,
I do that.
I'll help them out there.
Yeah, I do that.
If somebody asks me for some assistance in some way, shape or form,
yes.
I usually try and help them out.
I do.
As much as I can.
When it snows, I go around looking for people whose cars are stuck in the snow and
when was the last time
out.
When was the last time that happened?
Well, it hasn't snowed for a long time.
No.
But I do.
So when was the last time you did that?
Last time it snowed.
Well, the last time it snowed with enough, capacity to actually trap cars.
Well, it was about 5 years ago.
Really?
But I mean, what I do is
And you went round looking for people to help?
No, what I'm saying is I'm very aware of the problems that motorists have when there's snow on the ground. Being a fellow motorist myself, I deliberately wear sort of trainers with a big grip on the bottom, and that's so in order.
Trainers with a big grip on the bottom?
Yeah.
What, you mean those ridiculous Velcro shoes you wear?
No, a big grip on the sole, so that if anybody needs that sort of extra push from the back just to get them out of that sort of flurry of snow that the back wheels are spinning around in, I'm there to help.
Really?
Yeah, I make a point of that.
Everybody knows you're such a generous soul.
I am.
Neil says this, the piano on John Lennon's Love was played by Phil Spector. It was also used instead of George Martin on Let It Be, which upset George Martin. So I don't know if that's true.
Well, I don't know if that's true either.
It may well be.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This is Talk Sport.
It's the fastest, it's the strongest, it's the toughest league in rugby. It's the first Utility Super League. Every Thursday afternoon at Drive on Talk Sport, join Durham and Goffey as they tackle all the build-up and pre-match anticipation of another massive weekend of hard-hitting Super League action. Don't miss Durham and Goffey's Super League Showdown every Thursday afternoon at Drive from 4 on Talk Sport with Dacia, proud sponsor of Rugby League.
Take control of your game with the new and improved mobile betting experience from William Hill. This is our fastest in-play product yet, with easier access to your full range of in-play markets. And our new scoreboards give you in-depth stats and updates, so you can take it all in, then take control. Download the new and improved William Hill app now, with a 5-star rating from The Sun. When the fun stops, stop.
Employers across the UK, however small the business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. Visit workplacepensions.gov.uk.
The Fiat sales event. 0 pay, drive away. It's not just a clever rhyme. Throughout March, you can drive away any new car in the Fiat range with 0 customer deposit, and for the first 3 months, there's 0 to pay. Every car comes with 3 years unlimited mileage warranty and now includes 3 years roadside assistance. That bit doesn't rhyme. Find out more at fiat.co.uk. Representative 6.9% APR. Finance subject to status. Fiat Financial Services. Mileage limitations apply. For full T's and C's, visit fiat.co.uk.
Make sure you're ahead of the game and listen to Kick-Off on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Tonight from 7, get in-depth analysis, heavyweight pundit opinion, and outspoken fan reaction on the nation's most passionate pre-match football forum.
You won't miss a trick, flick, or kick of any of the action.
Plus, hear the latest form and odds ahead of all the matches that matter from 888 Sports On The Ball Bet Spurt. Kick-Off, weeknight from 7 on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Please gamble responsibly.
Tomorrow night from 7, full match commentary of Reading versus Crystal Palace.
The FA Cup 6th round, live on.
It says, I'm surprised Porky could push a pram, never mind a car, with only 1/3 of his heart working.
Yes, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Daddy says, love the co-op pronunciation.
Yeah.
Mark says, the Russians trained dogs in World War II to place bombs on tanks until they realised they put them on Russian tanks due to the training.
Yes, that's right. Well, animals have been involved in warfare for years. I mean, my grandfather had on my paternal side, my dad's dad was in charge of a string of donkeys on the battlefield of the Somme.
How appropriate.
Which, by the way, is commemorating 100 years this week.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, Sandy was talking about this the other day because Prince William, or the Duke of Cambridge, as he's now known, apparently has been turned down from some hotel over in the Somme because him and the Duchess wanted to go over there for the commemorations, but they're full.
Oh, I see.
Because they're full of people who are coming over who are like veterans.
Because of
they're refusing to kick anybody else out.
Yeah, right.
To accommodate the royals, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. Now listen,
you would give up your room for a member of the royal family, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Are you sure?
Definitely not.
I thought you were a massive royalist.
Well, I'm a royalist, but not to the extent where I'm going to be treated like a peasant and turfed out of my room for them. No.
Really?
And by the way, if it was Prince Andrew, not only would I not vacate my room for a pudgy, overweight, underworked freeloader like him, who's got a very foul mouth, because I've spoken to people, our royal correspondent friends and all that kind of stuff.
He's not a big fan of the press, is he?
No, he's a very foul-mouthed, horrible individual, and in my opinion, and I would actually confront him and say, what makes you think you're better than me, pal?
Yeah.
You've never done a day's work in your life. So there we are.
Well, he was a helicopter pilot in the Falklands.
Yeah, of course he was, and he went there and he flew helicopters around and all that kind of stuff, and I admire him for that. As a young man, he did go into a battle zone, but he has a huge sense of entitlement, and I know a lot about it because I spent part of my life, as you well know, chasing around trying to find Q Star.
Indeed.
The semi-porn actress, and therefore came across a lot of Andrew's people, his detectives and all that kind of stuff. He's not a well-liked man.
No.
Anyway, listen,
I'm sure he speaks very highly of you, though.
Well, I don't care whether he does or not. He's a worthless person to me. That's just my opinion, of course. He might be worth a lot to other people. Now, what I was going to say was...
What were you going to say?
On the DAB thing, have I told you that I pressed the retune button in the Merc?
Did you?
And they all came up.
Did they?
All our new stations.
All right.
So we've got TalkSport 2, got Talk Radio, and we've got Virgin.
Right.
All there now on my digital directory, okay?
Well, isn't that great?
Yeah. Now, the other thing...
Unfortunately, in my car, things have gone the opposite way, because I've now lost completely the AM capability.
How come?
I don't know. I haven't been able to work it out, and because the problem is, as I've said to you before, it doesn't have an aerial, my car. No. So the aerial's somewhere, in the car.
Yeah, it's in the back windscreen.
Well, it's either in the back windscreen or the front windscreen or something. So I'm wondering if it could have been in some way impaired.
Right.
By some, I don't know if it could be dirty. I just don't know.
Yeah.
But for the last couple of months, I can't pick up any AM at all.
That's a hindrance to a man who works in the radio business.
It is a bit, yeah.
You should get that
sorted.
sorted.
If I have the Land Rover, it's fine. It's not a problem. It's just the Merc is only, I can only pick up about 4 stations on it.
In the Merc?
In FM, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's such an old wreck.
It's a great car. I love the car.
You love the car, but it's only worth, what, £1,500?
It's probably not even worth that now.
Probably worth that.
But I love it, though.
2 holes in the front where the coal lorry smashed up the bonnet.
It's a scrape. It wasn't a coal lorry. I don't know what it was.
It's a hole. It's a hole in your bonnet.
There's not a hole in the bonnet.
There's a hole in your bonnet.
You show me where the hole is.
It's a huge dent.
There's
a
dent.
Not a hole.
It's not a hole. There's a big difference.
Tell you what I was going to talk to you about. The next Mercedes car I get, if I get another Mercedes...
Yeah. I thought you were getting an Aston Martin.
I think I'm getting an Aston Martin, but I might get a Mercedes. It may have the capacity, because I keep in touch with these developments, to overtake on its own.
What?
It can overtake on its own.
Well, I'd be in favour of anything taking control of your car, apart from you.
It says here, I'm going to ignore that, the German car giant's high-tech new E-Class can overtake other vehicles and steer around bends by itself. So advanced that the firm needs Britain's laws to change before customers can legally use the feature.
Oh, yeah.
It can do all the tricks at speeds well above...
Is this the new E-Class that they're bringing out now?
Yes.
Because somebody did say to me when you bought yours last week,
yeah.
or last year, because the new one's coming out like in the spring.
That's right. It can do all the tricks at the speed well above Sony, but can be set to stay under the UK limit. And should the driver take their hands off the wheel for too long and fail to respond to alerts, the car will stop by itself.
How does it go around bends?
It's got so many sensors and eyes it throws out that tracks back to a computer system in your car.
So you could be on a motorway, for example.
Yes.
You could be in the fast lane.
Yes, you can.
And it would just track itself around the various bends.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in the middle lane...
frightening thought.
If you're in the middle lane and you came up to a car in front of you...
Yeah.
You could take your hands off the wheel and the car would overtake the car in front of you because it has sensors front and back and sides.
Because you know how some of them now have got the braking capability, which your one's got. How does it know not to brake and to overtake? How does it make that decision?
I've no idea. It must be because you've turned it onto another plan or something like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But it says the world's most intelligent executive saloon will be unveiled shortly. The next step on the road to autonomous driving.
Because I read a piece the other day about autonomous driverless lorries, which they want to introduce to Britain's roads.
Right.
Which sounds a very bad idea to me.
Yes, indeed.
Does it not? You're not paying attention.
Yes,
are you? No, you're not.
Lorries,
I can tell you're not.
lorries.
Drifting off.
No, lorries.
Drifting off.
Heard you talking about lorries.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, don't you think that's a bad idea? I don't think you want like big 18-wheelers.
No,
driving around without drivers.
I agree with you. Guess what the other feature is? You just said that mine's equipped with a system which tells you the car in front's too close to you and it pushes you back.
Right.
What you can do is.
But it doesn't push you back exactly, does it?
Well, it tells you to move back. A big red triangle flashes up on your dashboard. But it says the ability to automatically follow a car in front at a set distance at speeds of up to 130 miles an hour will be a permanent feature of the new cars.
Right.
It can also brake by itself.
Don't you feel stupid now for having bought the final kind of end run of the last car?
No, not at all.
Because the new one is so much better.
Well, this one will go in another year.
I think you've made a bit of a blunder there.
No. Well, I'll let other people test them first to see if they work. They'll decide whether they want to buy one or not. It can also brake by itself to avoid traffic jams or pedestrians and can warn drivers of cars fitted with the same technology of accidents or congestion ahead.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that means, effectively, though, you'll be driving in one of these cars and it'll be constantly just giving you messages.
Yeah, I think
so. It's a bit distracting, though,
I think so. Well, maybe.
I think so.
Now, listen, I'll tell you what I came across today. Very exciting, right? Do you remember the Ford Capri?
The Ford Capri, yes.
I think
in fact, a good mate of mine, I haven't seen him for a few years, but until relatively recently, he had one.
What, till recently?
Yeah. Oh. No, I mean, it was
like
his car.
A vintage one?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
fantastic.
He loved
it. Well, I love it as well. I thought it was the best-looking car ever. I don't know why they still just don't produce it, with an updated shape.
Yeah, but I suppose if they had to update it, it wouldn't quite look the same. They'd have to make it all rounded and they'd just have to make it look different.
You watch old episodes of the Sweeney or the CI5, what was that, the Professionals. They're all running around in Ford Capris. But anyway, you won't believe this, and I'm thinking about getting involved here, right?
Yeah.
There's a Ford Capri for sale on one of the car sites and all that. It's 29 years old.
Right.
It's up for sale at £54,000, which would be a record for a Capri.
Yeah.
But the reason why it costs that much is because it has only got 936 miles on the clock.
Really?
How about that?
No, you'll never believe
it's silver
this.
Blue. Yeah,
you'll never believe this.
Yeah.
I've just seen on my information device.
Oh, yes?
The 2016 release date for the Ford Capri.
No.
I'm not joking.
What, they're bringing the Capri back?
They are.
No.
But look at this. They've done exactly what I said they'd do.
Let's have a look.
And they've made it look like one of those... It looks more like a sort of a new Mondeo or a Jag or something. They've lost the shape.
That looks like the Ford car they've already got. What's it called? The smaller version, not the one below the Mondeo.
Yeah.
The Ford.
What, you mean the Focus?
Focus.
No, it's a bit more jazzed up than that.
Can I have a look at that, please?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. That's the Capri. It's the Capri sedan.
Wow, it's only got two doors.
What a coincidence! Right. That's a great coincidence. That I literally had no idea that was happening.
That to me looks like it looks very much styled on a Jaguar.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
What did you say?
I said it looks like the new Jag or the new Ford Mondeo.
I have to say I do like it.
Do you like that?
Yeah, it's very attractive.
But it doesn't look anything like the old Capri, though.
Well, it looks like the old Capri 40 years on, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But
well, let's see what this says. It says, where are we going to... When's it going to say that it's going to release it? 2016. It doesn't give a date, unfortunately.
No?
Yeah.
Oh.
But so this year you'll be able to get one.
Well,
maybe get it as a second car.
I mean, that is fantastic.
You can get a 2-litre turbocharged EcoBoost petrol version, which goes from 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds. It's pretty quick.
Looks brilliant to me. Do you know, a lot of people who are snobs would say, well, I'm not having it because it's only a Ford.
Yeah.
I'd have it. I think Ford's magnificent, Mark.
Well, maybe you should replace your Merc with this.
I might do. I might well do. I think it looks fantastic.
It'd be cheaper than that one you've just mentioned as well.
What, the Aston Martin?
No, the Capri. You said.
Oh, the Capri, yeah. This one's 54,000.
That's what I mean.
When it was first released in 1987, this car, it was £11,999.
Wow.
That was quite expensive for a car in those days, I have to say.
Absolutely right. Right, now, are you ready for Porky Vision?
Yeah, I certainly am.
That's coming up next.
As we look down from the crater of our hot air balloon, drifting silently above the crimson beauty of another Serengeti dawn, we wonder as a svelte ocean of stampeding gazelles gallop majestically earthbound towards a water hole.
Somebody's here watering hole. Lovely. Mine's a pint. The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast this morning from 6.
Your natural selection for the big game, bodacious banter and bubbles.
Hey!
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast this morning from 6 on Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
This is Talk Sport. That music can mean only one thing. It is time for the big TV review of the week. It is, of course, Porky Vision. Many people anticipate this for an entire week and look forward to it. So what have you got for us tonight, Mr. Parry?
Now, The Night Manager, right?
Yes.
This is the hot programme at the moment.
Yes.
And it's getting into the Rogerisation stage, OK, which we all love to talk about, OK?
Yeah, well, you know, I watched the first 2 episodes of it over the weekend, and I didn't think there was that much Rogerisation.
But it's coming, Don't worry about that. Now then, let me tell you.
I'm not worried about it, by the way.
First of all, we've identified these fantastic locations in Mallorca.
Yes.
Where he lives, OK, that's his house. It is sensational. So anyway, he's finally accepted as a member of the gang when he goes and rescues Roper's son. Right? You probably saw that in the second episode.
I think I did, yes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So
he gets kidnapped from that amazing restaurant.
He gets kidnapped from the amazing restaurant by the gangsters, right?
Yeah.
Now, the guy who everybody's tipping now as the next James Bond is Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays the guy who's going to eventually sort Roper out.
The night manager.
The
night manager.
The night manager,
Isn't
that's
he
right.
the night manager?
He is the night manager, yes, yeah. He's going to sort Roper out. Roper is, by degree, an international drugs baron, an international arms dealer, but also a fixer for governments, you see what I mean? So that's why he's such a wealthy man.
Because, I mean, the way you described him, I have to say, I was expecting him to be more of a sort of a gangsterish figure, but he's actually not really gangsterish at all.
I tell you what, Hugh Laurie, who plays him, what a brilliant actor he is. Because he brings him over with that feeling of menace, you know what I mean? There's a feeling of menace about him.
But sort of authority as well.
Menace, authority, but great sophistication as well. Everything about him is utterly
he speaks
first
like
class.
one of those top people that you would admire.
He speaks like a man who's been to Eton, which Hugh Laurie did do, in fact. Excuse me.
You're right.
Yeah, it's the air conditioning. Now then, right. Now, where it's got to now is that Hugh Laurie, who is the supervillain Roper, has got this fantastic girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And this is on the Mallorcan retreat.
Is that Elizabeth Debicki?
Yes, it's probably her. And
probably her?
Yeah, it's probably her. Now, she has clearly now got her eye on Tom Hiddleston, who has just been accepted as a member of the gang.
Because I noticed that in the papers this week, they've been saying, how do you boost the ratings of a BBC TV show? Because there were pictures of him, like, stripped to the waist.
Yes, that's right.
A la pole dart.
That's right.
Appealing to a lot of women who like the look of men half naked.
That's right. He goes running through the surf and all that. But anyway, she has got her eye on him. This has not escaped the attention of one of Roper's top lieutenants, who is played by another Tom, a guy called Tom Hollander, who is a midget.
Well, he's not really.
He is.
He's just a bit short.
He's about 5'1".
Is he?
Yeah, about 5'1".
I remember him from The Thick of It.
Oh, do you?
He was in The Thick of It, yeah.
The Thick of It? What's that?
Have you never seen The Thick of It?
What's The Thick of It?
Oh, that's a fantastic show.
What?
It's the
the swearing. Capaldi was in that,
He plays this kind of Alistair Campbell figure.
That's right, and it's all effing this and effing that and all that. Yeah, OK.
It's brilliant. He was in that. He played a spin doctor.
Anyway, so what happens is the midget, and you hate him.
I don't think you could call him that.
Well, he's a little guy, and he's trying to be a big man, and I hate people like that, because he thinks that he's the boss's mate and all this kind of stuff.
Why do you hate people like that?
Well, because they're
creeps.
creeps.
A bit of yourself in
No, I do not see him a bit of myself. He's creep. So he
Don't you think you've just described yourself?
No. So he says to Tom Hiddleston, he says, look, old boy, old man, whatever, there's plenty on offer around here. The whole of Mallorca's your play park and all that.
Well, you mean he's trying to sort of dissuade him from the Rogerisation?
Yeah. So he says, but one finger on her, pointing to the girlfriend of Roper, he says, and we will cut your penis off.
What?
Yes, that's what he says. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
What's he got to do with him?
Well, he's like,
just sort of the fixer and trying to...
he's the grovelling little lieutenant to Roper. You know what I mean?
Well, see, because I've always thought that he's a bit more of a kind of he's a bit more sceptical about this new sort of interloper.
Creep.
Because he doesn't trust him.
No, he doesn't trust him, of course.
And he's got to protect his relationship with his boss.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. In case his boss starts to like the other Tom. You're absolutely right. Yeah. The guy's going to be James Bond.
Yeah.
So anyway...
Is he going to be James Bond?
Oh, yeah. The guy... what's his name? Tom Hiddleston. Yeah. Yes, Tom Hiddleston's going to be James Bond, yeah. Now then, so what happens is... They go for a walk on the beach, or he's on the beach and she turns up. She takes all her clothes off and walks into the sea.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So,
bit of skinny dipping.
Yeah, a bit of skinny dipping. So, and she's got an extremely attractive shaped derriere, because that's what you see, a derriere. She disappears into the sea.
Okay.
And so you know that this is going to happen, right? However... The twist to the whole series is that back in London...
Well, don't start giving it away, because a lot of people won't have seen it yet.
No, of course. Well, it's hard luck, because I'm telling them.
Well, hang on.
Right?
I mean, this is now part 4 you're talking about, or part 3?
Part 3.
Yeah. Part 3 was on already, right? My, for example, I haven't seen it.
Look,
I haven't seen it.
Time is short. Just shut up, right? So back in London, two separate parts of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, i.e. the Secret Service and all this kind of stuff, are saying, stay off our operation, right? And then the Americans turn up and they say, you're interfering, you've got your footprint on all this, right? So it turns out, because Olivia Colman is the link from MI6 to Tom Hiddleston, and she's on an island with huge binoculars with her team overlooking the Mallorcan retreat of Roper.
Well, what island is she on then?
Well, I don't know, some island next door. You know, a little outcrop, an outcrop. Yeah, eh?
Minorca?
Maybe something like that, yeah. Anyway, point of the story is, Hiddleston, by befriending the son that he rescued, the little boy he rescued, has found out that his dad has got a secret room, a secret lair.
Is it locked?
All his... Yeah, exactly. It's a locked room. Yeah. So he cleverly finds the key, you know, and he gets in there, and whilst he's, you know, getting all the information, he finds a blonde hair on the desk. Anyway, he puts two and two together, goes up. You think he's going in the bedroom to Rogerise the girlfriend, who he's been told he will...
blonde.
Yeah, and he's been told...
Is she not still in the sea?
No, she's back in her bedroom. And he's been told he will have his penis cut off if he touches her, right?
Right.
And he then... right. And he then confronts her with the blonde hair and says, you shouldn't leave blonde hairs behind, he'll find you. So I'm guessing at the start of the next episode...
So who was she in a locked room with, though?
She wasn't in a locked room at all.
Well, why did she leave her hair there?
Because I'm about to tell you, my guess is that at the start of the next episode, the plot will reveal that while Tom Hiddleston is doing it on behalf of the British authorities, because this guy killed his father, she... is doing it for the CIA.
Oh, you think she's a spy?
I think she's a spy. I think she's a CIA spy, and I think the Rogerisation is going to be both a coming together of nations and a coming together of man and woman. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It'll be a bit like James Bond and that one that's shot in Cuba.
What?
Die Another Day. You know, where...
Die Another Day.
I think it was Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
And where the woman in an orange bikini comes out of the water.
That's right.
She works for the CIA.
She works for the CIA. Yeah. And her name was?
I can't remember.
I can.
Go on.
She had short black hair.
She did.
Short black hair. Yeah. Stunning figure.
Yep.
She was famous for a long time, but she hasn't done anything since. Now,
well, no, she's done loads since. She won an Oscar for Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, she's the one. So I'm so good at reviewing these TV programmes. I've even told you what I think is going to happen next.
Yeah, well, that's unusual. I think it's a first.
And I think he's going to end up in a scene where I think they're going to try and sever his member.
Really?
In my view.
I don't think we should talk about that.
In my view, that's what's going to happen.
Makes me feel a bit squeamish.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's going to happen,
Unfortunately, we haven't got time for any more shows.
Well, you see, we need a longer slot for this because there's so much more to tell you.
Yeah. Yes. OK, well, maybe we'll carry it on tomorrow. Right now, though, that's the end of Porky Vision for 1 week, and he'll be back the same time next week. Coming up tomorrow, of course, Porky Quiz on the Reagans. This is Talk Sport.
Thank you.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Goff and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
Take control of your game with the new and improved mobile betting experience from William Hill. This is our fastest in-play product yet, with easier access to your full range of in-play markets. And our new scoreboards give you in-depth stats and updates, so you can take it all in, then take control. Download the new and improved William Hill app now, with a 5-star rating from The Sun. When the fun stops, stop.
Pack more style into your life with the spacious new Mini Clubman. 6 doors, seating for 5, a flexible folding rear seat design, and enough boot space for your matching luggage. Or the complete record collection and retro chairs that just said, "Buy me." The stylishly spacious new Mini Clubman. Everything that makes you stand out fits right in. Book a test drive at your nearest Mini Centre or mini.co.uk/space. Test drive is subject to status and availability.
I know. The state pension is changing.
I know. How much you get will still depend on your national insurance record. And don't forget you may still have a private pension to consider too.
I know. I'll be able to see how much I'm likely to receive and understand what I can do to improve my state pension.
I know. If you reach state pension age on or after the 6th of April 2016, you'll be part of the new scheme.
Make sure you know the facts about the new state pension. Visit gov.uk/yourstatepension for more information.
Paddy Power complaints.
What's this I hear about your incredible Cheltenham offer being available to everyone, even riffraff?
You mean this offer?
Money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second in all races at Cheltenham. That's every single race, every single day.
Yes, but surely not for the Great Unwashed too.
Whoa! Do they get to enjoy the scent of their own box?
No, I suppose they don't. You're right. Thanks, Paddy Power.
You're welcome.
Win and win part of each way, single bets only. Max free bet £25, valid for 7 days. Stake not included in winnings. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Sergeant, why have you brought the chaps to a Fiat professional dealership?
You said quick March, sir.
Yes.
There's an offer on Fiat Doblo and Fiorino vans in March.
And quick?
Only 31 days in March, sir. Clock's ticking.
Sergeant, I really don't think we can...
3 years warranty and 3 years roadside assistance.
Yes, that is rather good.
3 years servicing for just £99 and a £300 prepaid card for fuel too.
Don't bother walking back. You grab a Doblo. I'll take a Fiorino.
Quick March to your local Fiat professional dealership now. Mileage limitations apply. For full T&Cs, visit fiatprofessional.co.uk.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wix. Every weekday morning, get opinionated comment.
Play? No, exactly. I think I've played more for Spurs than he has.
Exclusive interviews.
Usain Bolt.
I always know what I need to do, so when I go there, I just get it done.
And unmissable debate.
People in the street like me, and listen to that. Yeah, that's what all losers say.
From the biggest names in sports broadcasting every day.
Unbelievable, breathtaking stuff.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wix. Let's do it right.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Diligence and knowledge.
Come on, give us a go, Muppets.
TalkSport.
Would you know we're riding on the Marrakesh Express? Would you know we're riding on the Marrakesh Express? They're taking me to Marrakesh, all on board the train, all on board the train.
Pretty sure George Martin didn't do this.
No, he didn't, no. You know that is obviously.
Yeah, Crosby, Stills and Nash.
I mean, that was a song of the... Would that be the 70s? It would
Marrakesh Express, yeah. This was on one of their later albums, which I think I've got, actually.
Yeah, you may have. But, I mean, Marrakesh, of course, was the place where all the hippies went to smoke ganja.
It was, yeah. It was where all the good dope was.
Weeks on end, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the Marrakesh Express meant the drugs route, didn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
The hashish route. Anyway, the reason I'm playing that, mate, is because that was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Now, it always amazed me.
I don't think it was Young. I think it was just Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah.
Young only appeared once in a while.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
What, Neil Young,
yeah. Not Neil's Young. That was Niels Lofgren, you think?
Niels Lofgren, yeah. It always amazed me that Graham Nash got into Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young because he came from the Hollies, didn't he?
Yeah.
Now, the Hollies, whilst I think a great group and made some great records like Bus Stop, and more particularly those later ballads, you know, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother.
Yeah, what was that one, the sort of the gunfight one? The day that somebody shot down Crazy Sam McGee or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know much about that one. The other one was The Air That I Breathe, which I thought was brilliant as well.
Yeah, that was good.
And the other one was, what was it? The Hollies. It was Bus Stop and another great one. Anyway, doesn't matter, I can't remember. The point is, I thought, well, that was a kind of rock-pop group in England, and then all of a sudden Graham Nash pops up in this sort of, what would you call them? Country and Western supergroup in America.
I don't know. I mean, they were kind of
soft rock.
They were a folk group, really,
folk
when
group.
they started.
Yeah, something like that.
All through sort of the Woodstock period.
Yeah,
really,
that's right. Yeah, well, in fact, they sang Woodstock, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Even though they didn't write it.
That's right.
Anyway, the reason I tell you all this is because Graham Nash, who was born in Blackpool, but became a superstar in America.
And he's very much lived in America, hasn't he, for most of the last 40 years?
Exactly, that's right, yeah. Has now revealed that, you know, any chance of a future reunion between Crosby, Stills and Nash, didn't necessarily mention Young, so I think you're right, Crosby, Stills and Nash, is now a zero possibility.
Why is that?
Because he now regards one of his fellow members of the group, David Crosby, as a complete and absolute no-no. You know what I mean? He says, I don't like David Crosby right now. He's been awful for me for the last 2 years. I've been there and saved his ass. That's an actual quote, right? For the last 45 years.
Well, poor old David Crosby's been through the wars, I think, in the last few years.
He says, I've been there and saved his ass for the last 45 years, and he's treated me like garbage. He can't do that to me, OK?
Oh, dear.
The ex-Hollies frontman said David has ripped the heart out of Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young. He includes Young.
Yeah.
He says, how can I not be terribly sad at this? Now, he goes on to say there'll never be another record or show.
That's probably no bad thing, to be honest.
Well,
I mean,
you're probably right.
I don't know if you'd want to see them sort of reforming and doing what they do. You know?
Well, last time I saw Cosby in public, is it Cosby or Crosby?
Crosby.
Crosby in public. He was sitting on a stool, right?
Yeah.
And I feared for the stool. I mean, the man was so gargantuan.
He did get rather
It was
large,
like watching. It was like looking at an elephant sitting on one of those, specially prepared sort of stools that elephants sit on when they're in the circus.
Right.
And at any minute, I thought the stool was going to collapse.
Well, I think he spent the best part of his shall we say, 20-odd years, or maybe longer, just kind of smoking weed and getting stoned.
That's right,
which, as most people will know, kind of leads you to eat quite a lot as well.
You mean like smashed out of his face
Yeah, I
or
think
his
so.
head?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And what do you think Graham Nash is objecting to then?
Well, I mean, I would imagine that I don't know how they separate out the royalties, but presumably, Crosby perhaps didn't get as many royalties as Nash did.
Yeah.
And maybe he's been helping him out financially.
Yeah, maybe.
And Crosby sort of turned
or
on
maybe.
I mean, I follow Crosby on Twitter, funnily enough. He's quite a sharp guy on Twitter.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is not mean to say that he's necessarily a sharp guy all the time.
No, sure.
But he's quite political and, he takes the mickey out of people quite well. And he swears quite a lot on Twitter as well.
It could be, of course, that Graham Nash thinks that he's been supporting him artistically for 45 years.
Maybe.
And because Crosby's been off his head and off his face and out of his head for 25 years, it often happens the other members of the group just had to gloss over it. You know what I mean?
No, exactly
could
right.
Be.
I mean, he's done some of his own work, of course, as well. But, I mean, he hasn't done much in recent time.
No.
I wouldn't have thought.
No. They got together, apparently, in 1972. And the reason that Neil Young is talked about them separately is because he always insisted on travelling independently to their gigs. He wouldn't travel with the group.
Who, Crosby wouldn't?
No, Neil Young.
Oh, Neil Young.
Neil Young,
yeah, but see, he was only kind of partly with them for a couple of albums, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he split from them full-time in 1976.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, in 2004, Crosby was charged with criminal possession of a weapon in the third degree, illegal possession of a hunting knife, illegal possession of ammunition, and illegal possession of about 1 ounce of marijuana. Crosby left his items behind in his hotel room, and after they searched it, they found all these, including a .45 caliber pistol. He spent 12 hours in jail and was released on $3,500 bail.
Pretty lethal combination for a man who's off his head.
Yeah, carry a gun.
Yeah.
Very strange indeed.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Back, of course, tomorrow with the Porky quiz on the Reagans, which I hope you've been doing some boning up on. Because,
well, I don't need to, actually. I know an awful lot about the Reagans.
You're an expert, would you say?
I would say I'm pretty much an expert on most American presidents, certainly of the modern era, and George Washington, of course.
George Washington.
Yes.
I think we did a quiz on him, didn't we?
I think we have done, yeah. If not, then we should.
No, I think we did do one on Washington. Here's one from Steve. He says, can Mike Parry bring his car in to do the show? At least MG might get a word in. This is after you were saying how you could get this smart car.
Oh, I see, yes, good idea.
B67 Dazza says, the footwear with the heavy tread to help in the snow. Can we please have pics of Porky's orthopaedic boots?
Orthopaedic boots, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
They're just, they're actually walking boots, for walking over the hills on the North Downs when the snow's down.
Any particular brand? Caterpillar?
No.
Timberland?
It could be Timberland.
Could be.
I got them from, that company that Frank Cotton set up.
What?
It's a mail order company for T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Rugby shirts. Called Cotton Traders.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got them from there.
Did you?
Yes.
They're not made of cotton, are they?
No, of course not, you idiot. It's called Cotton Traders because Frank Cotton set it up, I think.
Frank Cotton?
Yeah.
What, you mean Frank Cotton from EastEnders?
No. Frank Cotton used to be an England rugby captain. And when he retired, he set up this, he sells rugby shirts and outdoor coats and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't know you ordered anything online.
Well, I do occasionally if I'm bladderated and feel the moment is right. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Jason says, until Porky mentioned Prince Andrew, I could have sworn he was describing himself.
Oh,
that
that's
was
very
when he
harsh.
was describing a hard time to the Queen's son.
Yes.
Ethan says, is it just me, or is that every impersonation Mike Parry does is either a drunk Scotsman or a drowning Frenchman?
No, that's completely untrue. What I try to do is just bring a bit of flavour to the show by going into character if we're talking about somebody who's particularly iconic.
By the way, I should mention to those who haven't seen our Twitter account that a few people have sent in pictures of the Ford Capri, which you've now been completely put off because it's got gull-wing doors. Well, it's got those doors that open up.
Funny enough, somebody very kindly, Lewis, has just sent one, and he's gerrymandered the picture. It says, the doors on the new Capri are perfect for Porky's bladderation tendencies. It shows the doors wide open, as you say, in gull style.
Yeah.
And for some unknown reason, a figure clinging onto the bonnet as it shoots off down the road with my head superimposed on the figure. Not
really.
Now, Team Porky, which is, a group of followers of mine, great Porky Vision from old Porky tonight. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, I suppose they would say that, wouldn't they?
By the way, somebody sent me a comparison picture. This is Ian, thank you very much indeed, of a Ford Mustang saying how much it looks like, I'll show you this, Ford Capri.
Oh, yes, indeed it does.
I suppose it does a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I've never been that keen on Mustangs, to be honest.
Why?
But,
it's the iconic
the original sort of 60s one, yes.
Yeah.
But nothing that they've done recently particularly I like.
Sure,
Jeff says the album we're talking about is Deja Vu. I didn't know we were talking about that album, but yes, that is a great album, the Crosby, Stills and Nash with Neil Young.
Indeed.
He says he met Stephen Stills last year.
Yes.
It's one of my favourite all-time albums.
Which one?
The one I just mentioned, Deja Vu.
Deja Vu, yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
What they do is they combine their tweets to send new messages, so they link them together.
They tweet as well.
Hey?
They tweet as well.
They tweet and cheer up at the same time.
They tweet?
Yeah. Seriously. So, for instance, these birds, which I'm talking about, their vocalisations were examined and scientists identified one call which said, come here.
Wow.
So,
well, that's not very surprising at all. I think you're going to give me some kind of complex, conversation they were having.
No.
Of course they would say, come here, or get lost, or this is my nest.
Japanese tits.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Porksky Planksky. That is absolutely true.